Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Friday. It's March 19th. There are a million and one things going on in the soccer world this morning. We will try to update you on at least 900,000 of them if we can. Got a Champions League draw. Got a Europa League draw. We got racism in the Europa League. We got a player kicked in the face and has a skull fracture in the Europa League. We've got the US U23's. They won. We've got Mexico's U23's. They won. We've got Alan Franco and Independiente stirring the pot. Got other people, I guess, trying to stir the pot. That's what happens around here, isn't it? Lots of things going on this morning and lots of things happening, and we will do our best to try to make some sense of it, give you our opinions along the way, and we'll try not to start too much trouble because, you know, at times we've been accused of doing that sort of thing. So Jarrett will be here later to cause all the problems. He'll be popping in a little bit. It'll be Jarrett who causes all the problems. You can blame him. Okay. We're going to start with the Champions League draw because that was your teaser question as you were waiting for the show to start. Now we know what the pathway is. We talked about power rankings, but now we know what it looks like. Who is the favorite to win the Champions League now knowing the draw, John?
Well, I mean, are we going by the numbers that are posted or by the conversations that we've been having that are now reinforced by the matchups that we're looking at today?
I'm literally asking your opinion on it. That's all. Who is the favorite to win the Champions League in John Nelson's mind?
Well, it still hasn't changed, even though we have matchups. I'm still going to go with Manchester City.
So Manchester City's got to go through Borussia Dortmund.
Yes.
And Erling Haaland, who has scored 31 goals in 30 appearances this season.
Yep.
Then they would have to go through the winner of Bayern and PSG.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe Chelsea, maybe Real Madrid, maybe Liverpool, maybe Porto. I'm going on the pathway, and I'm going on a team who has completely won me over lately, and I'm still waiting for the bottom to drop out because it will. I think Chelsea has the best path to the final.
No question.
I think Chelsea has the best road. Out of the top four teams, three of them are on one side, in my opinion. Bayern and PSG will be brutal. Bayern should get through that, but it won't be easy. Then Bayern and potentially Manchester City, although it's not a gimme, will be very brutal. It will be amazing football, and as Johannes says, Bayern are the favorite, but it's a shame the real final will be in the semifinals. If it's
true.
Bayern and Chelsea, no, not necessarily true. I think that's discounting Chelsea, or maybe Real Madrid, or maybe Liverpool. Chelsea is playing as good a soccer as anybody right now. Chelsea did get lucky burned. I am 100% with you. They got an incredible draw. Mm-hmm. Tommy Tuchel was fist-pumping all over the offices at Chelsea today. Because Porto, they got the weakest team left. Not going to be easy for them. Porto is maybe doing the best impression of Atletico Madrid this year, better than Atleti. But Chelsea should handle that. They're going to get either previously slumping, but maybe not by this point, Liverpool, who will be difficult. But I think Thomas Tuchel understands what Jurgen Klopp wants to do, and I think he can handle it. Mm-hmm. Or they'll get Real Madrid. Real Madrid's got to go through a gauntlet to get to that point. Real Madrid has the two legs with Liverpool. In between, they go to Barcelona and play the Clásico that weekend. That might help Liverpool in that second leg. There's also the fact, and you got to keep this in mind when it comes to Liverpool and Real Madrid. Right now, citizens from the UK are prohibited from entering Spanish territory until March 30th. If that time limit's extended, Madrid can't host Liverpool. If it's not, then they can. But if it is extended, they will not be able to. That is something to keep an eye on. Karim Benzema has had a lot of success against Liverpool. Nobody has scored more goals against Liverpool than Karim Benzema. He's level with Didier Drogba. But in the last time these two faced off in a knockout situation, Liverpool beat Real Madrid 5-0. Their biggest aggregate defeat in a Champions League knockout tie ever. I think it's going to be tough for Real Madrid to get through because of that Barcelona game being mixed in. They're going to have to grind it out. If Liverpool can continue to build back to where they've been between now and then, We'll see. That's a toss-up to me. Either way, I think Chelsea's the favorite against either one of them. And I think Chelsea gets to the final. The other side's a toss-up. I can't really say any of them are favored to get through, and I'm not even discounting Dortmund here. They're going to make it difficult for City. If City has any defensive flubs or has any of those bobbles that we've seen in Champions League from time to time, Erling Haaland will punish them for it. They're going to have to be careful with that. They should get through. They will have some heartburn in doing it. Bayern should get through PSG. I think PSG will finally struggle a little bit because they're going to have to keep an eye on Ligue 1. And I think Bayern gets through. And Bayern and City will be an amazing two legs of soccer. There's just no way around it. Bern has a really good point. Liverpool has the huge advantage that the league doesn't matter to them. Real Madrid doesn't have that opportunity, not with the Barcelona match in between. Liverpool should get through that. Should. They've got to play more like they did very recently than what they did in the not so recent, but recent history where they were in a just horrible stretch. And they've got to figure out how to actually win at home again. That might help. I think they're going to get through, but man, I would not touch it. I wouldn't put anything on it because I don't trust them right now. I
wouldn't touch that with a 29.5-foot pole.
I just don't trust them right now at all. I don't. I don't at all. But Real Madrid's going to have to battle with that Barcelona match in between, so it's not going to be easy any which way. We said that Jarrett Smith would come in and cause the problem. So, Jarrett, who is your favorite in the Champions League now that we know the pathway to the final?
Oh, God, it's going to be Chelsea to get to the final, probably. And I'm not as high on Chelsea as you are. I respect your determination to ride the Chelsea train and to ride the Nathan Knight train at basically similar speeds. I'm impressed at both of these things. Still, for me, is basically whoever comes out of like the Bayern Munich Man City battle, because that just kind of feels like that is the final. It's just a round early. I'm still leaning to Bayern Munich, but it just depends on how everybody comes out of those ties. How are they doing physically afterward? How do league games treat them? Where do they stand in the league? Because we're talking a couple of weeks down the line. Some of these contests in the leagues might be tighter, or they might be done completely. I'll just be curious to see how it shakes out. I'm eternally tickled at the idea of Liverpool finishing 7th in the Premier League and winning Champions League. That's hilarious to me. Just the concept of that happening.
Could happen. What do the Juicebox purveyors say now that we know the pathway, John?
Juicebox purveyors, outright winner. Porto is a plus 4,000. Dortmund is a plus 1,600. Real Madrid a plus 1,100. This is courtesy of our friends at Points Bet. Chelsea is 5th at plus 800. Liverpool at plus 650. PSG at a plus 500. Bayern a plus 300. Manchester City still the leader in the clubhouse, but it's only at plus 220 now.
You're going to give me Chelsea the 5th favorite at what?
Plus 800.
I like it. I like it. I need to go find some juice boxes.
Yeah, I'd take that to the bank.
Yeah.
The path is just too easy not to.
Yeah.
And it's no disrespect for Porto. Porto could beat them. Totally. Could happen. But it's you look at that path, you're like, yeah, that kind of the pins have laid out a certain way for you to do this, and that's a rude number for a team that has a really good path to the final.
I'm laughing because Johannes says the last couple of shows have made him a big Porto fan in that matchup with Chelsea. He doesn't see how people are high on Chelsea. Johannes, I think you don't like Tommy Tuchel, do you? That's my guess. They haven't lost with him. They've only conceded once. I mean, it's not like 5 games. It's a long stretch. They've been really good. That's why I'm high on Chelsea, and I think they have the best pathway now. I do. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That's my wild card pick. It's not that I think Chelsea is the better team overall in this year than Bayern or Manchester City, but I think it's going to be harder for those teams to get through. I mean, only one of them is going to get through, and I think Chelsea has the easier road. If it is Porto, they can handle that because I think they're a tougher matchup for Porto. I think they can deal with that because they'll sit back. They'll make Porto try to play a little bit. That's not Porto's strength. Real Madrid and Liverpool, I trust Tuchel in a game plan against Klopp and Liverpool not at their best. We'll see now. If Liverpool starts to get people back, if they start to get healthier, then maybe we're having a different conversation. And Real Madrid's just not what they've been. They're not bad, and they will be difficult because of their veteran experience. But they're just not as good as they've been, and I think Chelsea will be better over two legs. So I think Chelsea will be favored against anybody they face in that half of the bracket. The other side, I mean, Bayern, PSG, Bayern should go through, but that's a lot of talent you're facing. If Mbappe's on one, you could have a problem. And City and Dortmund, I mean, City should go through that, and City against whoever comes out of the other side, and it should be Bayern. It's a toss-up, really, in my opinion. Yeah. It's a toss-up. I would probably pick City today, but by the time we get to that point, it could be different. One injury could turn it. One loss of form from one key player could turn it. And we'll just have to see when we get there.
I'm just imagining the idea of Erling Haaland scoring a penalty and getting in Zach Steffen's face and breaking Twitter in half. Yeah, I need this in my life, basically, is where I'm going here, is the idea of him, getting up and going full heel and watching U.S. soccer Twitter just completely shatter its own brain. This is what I want.
Scoring against a possible future employer.
Yep. He goes over to the sideline and looks at Pep and tells him, "Call me. Let's talk numbers."
Nah, Pep's going in a different direction. That's not where he's going to go. Ezra Packham says, Chelsea has the easiest road to the final or to win it all. I think they have the easiest path to the final, but whoever is waiting for them there is who could possibly beat them. Absolutely. I mean, they're going to face their toughest team left in the final if they get to that point, because I think they'll be favored against everybody else. I mean, you see the juice box numbers. They won't be favored against anybody from the other side, I guess, unless it's Dortmund, but I don't think Dortmund's getting there. So they'll be the underdog in the final, but I don't rule them out. I don't. In a one-off, I don't rule them out in that situation. I think Chelsea is a better team than Tuchel had in the final last year with PSG. Overall, as a team, I think they're a better team. I think they're much better defensively. And you get to this point, I think defense becomes more critical. And, I mean, his team is the best defensive team going at the moment right now. City's right there, but Chelsea, with what they've done under Tuchel, incredibly difficult to find ways to score against them. That could see them through.
9 wins in their first 13, and they ain't giving up goals. And last time I checked, if you score and the other team doesn't, then that means that you win and you keep going. And so Chelsea's been doing a lot of that since Tommy Tuchel showed up in town.
And we've talked about this back in the day when MLS was still pure of heart and did multi-leg playoff rounds like normal human beings in civilized society. We talked about it with Atlanta United, go back to 2018. Of the most important thing you can do is not give up goals. And I remember us talking about it when they went to New York City. Is the most important number on that score line was the 0 on the other side. You keep them off the board, and you give yourself a chance. So yeah, it comes down to that, to making sure that you're keeping them off the board in every which way you can, and then you got the talent to go find one. It's not a bad way to live your life. Please bring back the two-legged MLS playoffs. MLS, please.
Yeah.
I'm begging you.
I'm all in on this.
I'm begging you.
A lot of people have said one good thing about City and Bayern potentially facing off in the semifinals is you'll get 2 legs of it. You'll get 180 minutes at least of it, rather than one game in the final. Yeah, for neutrals, that's good. If you're a Bayern fan or you're a City fan, you're gonna
heartburn.
You're gonna struggle with that one a little bit. Byrne says, I think both Flick and Pep are better tacticians than Tuchel, although Pep overdoes it at times. He does. They can both beat Chelsea in the final. I mean, I think Flick is going to do what they do. I don't know if he deviates, and why should he? I mean, they've won everything, so I think you know what to expect with them. I'll be curious to see how Chelsea would approach that game. Same with City. City would be the same thing. I honestly think City would be more difficult for Chelsea than Bayern. It doesn't mean that they would that Bayern wouldn't win. I think Bayern is what they are. I don't see them pulling up something different for the final in that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Flick surprises all of us, but I think Hansi Flick's been pretty clear in saying, like, this is what we do. This is how we play. We're not going to deviate. We're going to play a high line. We're going to press in the other half. Like, this is what they're going to do. I don't think you're going to see a surprise. Pep could throw a surprise. That could be good or could be maybe overthinking it a little bit. Tuchel's shown a little more flexibility than Flick so far. I mean, he's played a little bit of 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. He's played the 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1. He's got a little more options. I think they're a little more unpredictable in terms of how they set up. I think Bayern will be Bayern, and that's been really good. So I don't think they really need to think about anything different. Tuchel will be able to adjust to them. I don't think Flick will be able to really adjust to Chelsea because they've got more options, or at least they've shown more options so far. It'll be fascinating. I'm not really thinking about Tuchel at PSG, Burn. I'm thinking more of what we've seen at Chelsea. He will go back and definitely think back to what happened in the final last year with PSG, but I think he's got a very different side. I do. I think he's got a better side overall, a more complete side. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I like the way this worked out. I do. It gives us a lot to talk about. Bayern PSG, tons to talk about, a rematch of the final. City and Dortmund, yes, there's going to be plenty to talk about. Those should be fun games. Chelsea and Porto will be a little bit more of a slog, but interesting. And then you've got two of the biggest clubs in the world in Real Madrid and Liverpool. There's always going to be things to talk about there. Let's get into the Europa League really quick. We're going to come back to the Europa League and dig deeper into it. That draw was this morning as well. Granada and Manchester United, the winner of that would face the winner of Ajax and Roma in the semifinals. Arsenal and Slavia Prague, the winner of that would face Villarreal and Dinamo Zagreb in the semifinals. And yes, I did say Dinamo Zagreb. Gwen was shocked, along with everybody else in the world, that Dinamo Zagreb, with their manager arrested or at least sentenced earlier in the week, beat the ever-loving crap out of Tottenham. There's just no other way to put it. 3-0. It's embarrassing for Tottenham. It's embarrassing for Jose Mourinho. Sorry, Katie Weaver. You're in the sorry list today. It's horrible. It's horrible for Tottenham. And Hugo Lloris is embarrassed. Jose throws everybody under the bus and talks about sweat and blood. And yeah. He says that every time they lose. He's getting a little predictable with those things now. He did throw people under the bus, too. He was also classy in going and applauding Dinamo Zagreb in their locker room. Like, yeah, that's great. He still threw his teammates or threw his players under the bus. We'll get into details on it. It was horrible. We'll get into details on Milan and Manchester United, where Stefano Pioli was very ticked off with our boy, or at least my boy, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He said, "You are nothing but an A blank, 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 blank." Put in letters for the blanks. I think there's 6 of them. It was kind of weird at the end of that. Milan was a better team, but Manchester United went through. They did enough. We'll talk about Rangers. A lot of things to talk about with Rangers. You have the goalkeeper for Slavia Prague who has a fractured skull, according to reports this morning. And if you saw the pictures, it was horrible. You have Rangers accusing at least one player from Slavia Prague, Andres Kudela, of racially abusing Glenn Kamara. And there are quotes from that, and that has continued on. Just one player, thank you, Zalazone. You also have Rangers picking up 2 red cards and really playing poorly as well. That is part of the conversation. Arsenal didn't play well, but they had a big cushion. They go through 3-2 over Olympiacos. A lot of different things from Europa League to talk about. We're going to come back to Europa League and what happened yesterday, but the draw this morning, pathways, you could have, Ajax Roma is probably the most heavyweight of the Europa League quarterfinals. Arsenal should be happy about what half of the bracket they're on, in my opinion. I think Manchester United has a tougher road. Well, no, Jarrett, Seriously, they're playing Slavia Prague and either Villarreal or Dinamo Zagreb. No, Jared. We're not going to do this game because, hey. No offense to Rangers who got eliminated here by one of these teams. No offense to Spurs who got eliminated by one of these teams. But I'm sorry, Slavia Prague and Dinamo Zagreb are not Ajax or Roma. They're not. Correct?
Correct.
Jarrett?
Last time I checked.
Okay. So Arsenal got the easier road. Doesn't mean it's easy, but they got the easier road.
Yes.
That's the difference. Manchester United and Ajax, or Manchester United and Roma in a Europa League semifinal, good times. That'll be fun. Arsenal versus Unai Emery in the semifinals would be pretty awesome. That's definitely a call.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jarrett.
No, I don't want anything to do with Slavia Prague after what they did to Leicester and what they did to Rangers. Both ties.
Well, when your defense, when you're the guy that has scored twice is driving in on net 1-on-5, and the 5 guys just kind of sit there and go, "Oh, maybe we should do something," and they decide that when it's a little too late. It was embarrassing for Tottenham yesterday.
It was.
Oh.
It took the only time I thought, hey, Tottenham might do something here was right after they conceded the second goal to tie up the tie, and then right after they conceded the third goal. And then it took shout out to Hugo Lloris, who made an absurd poke away when Zagreb should have made it 4-2 in stoppage time. And he just he was 1-on-1. Guy tried to go around him, and he just reached out and kind of poked it with his fingertip to get it away. But that at least kept them alive for a moment. But only when they were giving up goals for a little 5-minute flurry after that did they look like they even wanted to be there.
Yeah, it
was, man. All the credit in the world to Dinamo Zagreb for what they did. Everything they've been going, they almost scored as many goals as their manager has years on his prison sentence.
I was going to say, maybe folks should just have their managers sent to prison and then they would play like this.
There's a few clubs who would support that.
There's a few.
But, that doesn't take away from the fact that, Tottenham just laid an ostrich egg. And then, Slavia Prague has taken out Leicester and Rangers. And, look, I know Leicester has really fallen away in the last month or so, and that's the first time Rangers have lost at home this year. The thing that's impressed me with them is that both of these last 2 ties for Prague is that they've been held to a draw at home, and then they've rolled up into someone's house and eaten all their breakfast cereal out from under them with them watching them.
Jared,
that's the part that's impressive to me is that they're going in. So I understand what you're saying, Jason. It is an easier draw.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're not having to play Roma. If Arsenal go and
you're having to play Ajax.
Imagine Arsenal knows better than to take this easy. Don't take this draw easy because they will absolutely roll into London and steal all your cookies out of your pantry.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to correct one thing because I think the narrative has been spun a little bit here on Leicester. Leicester hasn't capitulated. They've won back-to-back. They lost back-to-back to Slavia Prague, and then they lost to Arsenal. But since then, they drew with Burnley. They beat Brighton. They beat Sheffield United. I know it's 2 teams they should have beat, but they beat them. They spanked Sheffield United 5-0. Before the loss to Slavia Prague, they went to Villa and won on February 21st. They drew away to Slavia Prague. They beat Liverpool before that on February 13th. So it's not that bad. They're still in a good spot. I give Slavia Prague a lot more credit than Leicester has fallen off in that. I think we've seen now that Slavia Prague didn't fluke their way to that, or Leicester didn't throw it away.
I think for me, part of it is the idea that I think I wanted to believe that Leicester was
part of it for you is you've got issues with Brendan Rodgers. That's what it is.
And at the same time, I thought that team could finish second or third in the league.
They could.
And then
they are.
Yeah, I know, but I was like, I don't ever know what to make of them. But now that they're just focused on the league, I think they'll be fine. But it's a weird juxtaposition for me. I still will always have issues with Brendan Rodgers. He's also one of the best English managers, Northern Irish managers, and most progressive managers on the British Isles right now. So all the credit in the world for him for not trying to drag the game back to the 1800s, kicking and screaming like half the damn managers who are filling an interim role in England. We just got to stay up for the end of the year, so we're going to bring in somebody to take all the joy out of a damn game.
Or the ones who were filling an interim role after Brendan Rodgers left in the middle of the night and then got the permanent job and then sucked all the fun and life out of a club in Glasgow. Right?
And this is why we wait for Jesse Marsh.
Maybe. Also, Brendan Rodgers did say, and this is very important in my opinion, that Celtic should show, quote, humility and class by giving Rangers a guard of honor ahead of Sunday's match. They 100% should. Yeah, they 100% should.
And he would have a first-hand experience of this because I'm pretty sure he was still managing when Rangers did not give Celtic one. Celtic should absolutely give them one, and I am terrified at the concept that they're not going to do it.
Right.
You've already been stupid all year in the East into Glasgow. Why not end the season on like a decent note of do the right thing in this case?
They should.
Please. Whatever.
Well, I hope they do. They should. Okay. So let's get caught up on Alan Franco real quick because this has been a nightmare of epic proportions. Felipe Cardenas just tweeted out a few minutes ago, Atlanta United's pursuit for Independiente center back Alan Franco unlikely to continue, a source tells Felipe. Waiting until the summer to bring in another central defender is not the plan at this time. Now, you might hear that and be like, well, what happened? What did I miss? You missed a lot. This thing has taken a bunch of turns overnight, and I'm going to try to summarize as best as I can tell on how this has gone. At the same time last night, multiple outlets reported, which is a little sketchy to me in the way this goes, and it'll make a little more sense in a second. They reported that Sao Paulo was offering $4 million for 80% of Alan Franco's pass. Less money in total for the deal, but more money up front. And as we talked about before, Independiente was looking for more money up front, according to reports. It was unclear at that time that did Sao Paulo actually put an offer on the table, if it was just interest, if it was just rumor, what have you. But it was reported in multiple places that Sao Paulo had interest or shown interest or whatever. It also came out that Dinamo Zagreb had actually offered $2 million for Alan Franco last summer. Independiente turned that down. Cesar Luis Merlo said that Atlanta United was looking for other alternatives. That follows on from Felipe's tweet, or that was much earlier, but that goes in the same line as Felipe's tweet this morning. Well, Facundo Jauregui tweeted a little while ago this morning that the leadership of Sao Paulo does not confirm this interest in Alan Franco. They claim that it is impossible to pay $4 million US for 80% of a central defender. The quote is, that figure does not make sense, they affirmed from Brazil. So, the reason why this is all really weird and strange is the way it's gone down multiple ways, and Independiente was somewhat guilty of this in the Ezequiel Barco situation as well, when there were alleged interests from other clubs after a deal had been agreed upon. That's the way it happened with Barco in early 2018 as well. It's a classic tactic, right? You have an agreement, you come back to the table at the end and say, yeah, we like your offer, but we've just got this one over here. Oh, do you actually have the offer? Because that's the question, and when you see Jauregui's tweet and you think about it, why would Sao Paulo come in for $4 million for Alan Franco out of nowhere? I mean, Hernan Crespo is there, yes, and he was at Defensa, yes, so he would know Alan Franco, sure. But that's a lot of money. That's a lot more than the $2 million that was offered for Franco last summer by Dinamo Zagreb. Why would Sao Paulo come in with that kind of money all of a sudden? Unless maybe they really didn't come in with that kind of money, and it was a ploy to try to get a larger transfer. Don't know. But this is how the game has happened in the past with this club. And Atlanta's not the only club that's had these situations with Independiente. I don't know. I have no idea how this goes. It is a really complicated one. Atlanta United wants to get Alan Franco. They went after two guys previously. Things happened. This has been the snake-bitten transfer saga of Atlanta United's existence, even worse than the Barco stuff, even worse than the Miguel Almiron transfer sale. You couldn't do anything about David Martinez. You didn't see the knee issues with Giannetti that made that too risky. You didn't see that coming because there's no way you could until you get a medical done. And now you've got Independiente doing Independiente things. How it goes, I don't know. I don't know what direction this goes. I don't expect Atlanta United to throw $4 million at Independiente today because I don't know how accurate that offer is. Independiente's got to do business, and they got to do it quickly. And they have a game this weekend, and they were kind of back and forth on if they were going to try to have Alan Franco play in the match. The player's also going to try to force his way out. And again, remember how the Barco deal went down. This kind of stuff happened, and it got to a point that Barco didn't come back to training. Barco didn't go to training, and it got everybody riled up on the Independiente side. And then it came to the point that Barco ended up making a donation to, I think, put money towards training fields or whatever out of the transfer money he was going to get out of the deal as per his contract to try to smooth everything over at the end. But yeah, that happened. Does that have to happen here? I don't know. And I don't know how long Atlanta's going to wait. Because then the reports that Atlanta's moved on, they're going to look elsewhere. When you're playing hardball, of course, that's how it's going to go. Alan Franco's the one who loses in this. Joe Boss is 100% correct. That he's the one who is suffering in this because it's out of his hands. And the club he is at owes him money, by the way, because that part has been talked about in this transfer saga is either he would forgive the money they owe him or it would come out of whatever, or however, it would get washed away, basically. That's part of it. So he can't be happy with that situation, except this is the club that he came up at. This is a club that, it's probably in his heart. But yeah, he's the one who's going to suffer from this, because if he doesn't go on this one, and Falcione made it clear, the manager of the club, he didn't want to stand in the player's way of something that could be life-changing for him. He didn't want to stand in his way. The club, the leadership of the club, which has not exactly shown the greatest of integrity over the years, and not just in transfer sagas. I mean, they are way behind on money for a lot of different things, and it started before the pandemic. It's very, very complicated. They've not really been prone to doing business properly. Now, a couple of things from a radio show last night with Matias Martinez, and this is secondhand from our good friend Gustavo in Buenos Aires. I'm gonna summarize here quickly. Gustavo, I'm sure, will explain in more detail if needed, but it's too much for him to try to type into the Twitch pitch. Independiente wants more money. That part we've covered. Independiente wants a Cuesta clause. It's if he plays 70% of the games in the first year, Atlanta United would buy 17% after that, so out of the other 50%. Then it'd be another 17% in the second year, the remaining 16% in the third year. If you sell the player before that, then you start doing math about who owns what percentage, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Attorneys from both clubs are discussing the terms, according to Matias Martinez. Alan Franco has a ticket to fly to Atlanta that is for tonight. If this is delayed, then the question is, do they throw him into the lineup against Vélez on Saturday? Don't know. The Independiente agent in charge of this deal is the same one that was used for the Barco deal and the Nicolas Figal deal with MLS. Franco is out of contract on June of 2022, so you're running out of time on him if you're going to sell him, if you're Independiente. You'd probably have to sell in the summer window at this point. You're not going to be able to get further down the road because he could sign a pre-contract in December of 21 to go where he wants when his contract is up, and then you get nothing. He does not have a European passport, so it'd be difficult for him to go to Europe, so that limits who would come in and potentially sell. There's a bonus in the deal if he's named an MLS All-Star. I mean, we start getting into all these different dollars and cents and stuff. The other things you have to figure out is the taxes from it, and the government would take 28% of the profit here. Independiente wants that covered. They don't want to have to lose 28% to the government, so they're trying to get more money to cover that. 20% is for San Telmo, which was where Franco came from originally. They have 20% of his future deal here. So 20% would go to them. Independiente doesn't want to lose then 48% of the money coming in to the government and to San Telmo. There's also 15% that would go to the player, which is typical. Independiente doesn't want to lose 15% of the deal, because when you start doing 20 and 28 and 15, that's why Independiente wants more money up front. That's why they're trying to get it. So they're going to try to push this. And this is from last night again, and it's been updated since by another reporter, but Matias Martinez said that there was no formal offer from Sao Paulo to Independiente. Ariel Holan, who managed Franco at Independiente, who is now at Santos, reportedly he is interested, but Santos has no money to work with here either. They have some pretty serious financial problems. Atlanta United's not going to sit here at this table for a long period of time, and that was something Matias Martinez made clear. Like, they're not going to wait another week on this. They're going to push it to a deadline, and they're going to move on if they don't get him. And according, again, to Felipe's tweet from this morning, they're not going to then wait to the summer. They're still going to try to get somebody now as soon as they can. So this is where it stands. It's very complicated. Welcome to Independiente. Welcome to South America. Welcome to Argentina specifically. I think it's going to come down to today, and it could get done. I think there is still a chance it gets done because I think hardball will be played. Could the numbers move a little bit? Sure. To get it done, it could. But Independiente wants more money. Atlanta United probably has some limitations in how much they are willing to go here. And they're probably pretty frustrated because this is, again, Independiente being very difficult to deal with and just not completely upfront. We don't know the cap space. I know there's a lot of speculation about that. We don't have a number of how much room they have on the cap. We don't know what that limit would be that they could put towards this deal this year to make him fit under the cap. That's all guessing game because we don't know the MLS cap situation. But there is some kind of upper limit here you would expect. So we just wait and see. I mean, that's all we can do at this point on this deal is wait and see what happens. So make sure you're following all the usual suspects out of Argentina. The news is going to come from there. I mean, that's where it's going to originate from. And make sure you're following all the folks around Independiente. It will be a big talking point all day because, again, Independiente plays Vélez tomorrow, which is a big game. They're going to announce their, game day lineup for that here, not the roster, not the lineup for the game, but the actual group that will be part of it. They're going to announce that at some point today. If he's on it, then you can assume that everything has broken down. If he's not, then maybe it gets done. Doesn't mean it necessarily is 100% done, but maybe it's a lot closer to getting done, or he's going to force a deal elsewhere. It's very, very complicated. Everybody is kind of guessing at what Independiente is going to do here. They do need money. Are they going to lose out on some right now to try to get more than what's been agreed to? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, doing the math as you were breaking down percentages and what was going where, I mean, I get that Independiente is playing economic chicken here, considering they're only getting 37% of whatever the deal is with taxes and money to the player and the San Telmo. I understand what they're doing in playing hardball and trying to get more money up front, considering what we've talked about with their discussions with Cass and them owing players and all this kind of stuff. But when you're at the table, the question that I wrote down, don't know how much longer Atlanta United waits. And that's the key here. Atlanta United's interested in the player, and Independiente is, they're at the table once again playing chicken. And so I think today's going to be a big day in trying to figure out what direction they go. But if you're Independiente, once again, you risk alienating another player who then will not have the desire to want to renew once you get to that window at the year mark. And, what you're setting yourself up once again with that reputation of not wanting to assist the player that wants to go and go to other places. So there's a lot of stuff in play, and today's a big day.
We'll take questions on this situation, and we'll tell you what we know. We'll also take questions on Champions League as we wrap up hour number 1. Mike Conti will join us at 10 o'clock to talk about tomorrow, Atlanta and Charleston, a joint training session. We'll get into what that could look like, things to look for. I mean, it's going to be a training session. It's not going to be structured as a normal match. So I think kind of having that idea of what we're all looking for going into that will be really good. Let's get into questions on Twitter about Franco and about Champions League. John, what do you got?
Talk about Alan Franco. He says, I was saying it all last night. I really hope Darren forces a cheaper deal for this crap or just moves on and leaves Independiente in the cold.
You're not going to force a cheaper deal, but I think you're gonna say a take it or leave it at some point. And if they leave it, then they leave it, and you move on. And there's other players, and I like Alan Franco. I liked David Martinez. I like Lautaro Giannetti. There's other players. And if you got to do that, you got to do that. That's the nature here. You're not going to make a bad deal here to get something done today. You're going to have a limit, and you're not going to go past that limit. So that's what it is. I mean, it's just the thing that grabbed my attention last night was when the Sao Paulo stuff all came out at the same time from different people. That felt coordinated. That felt like something was leaked from somewhere. Maybe a club who was trying to drive a price up or drive the PR side of it in a certain direction, or both. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And now it's been reported multiple places that there isn't a whole lot of sense to it. Sao Paulo is not going to pay $4 million. So, again, there's going to be a take it or leave it time. There's going to be a limit on how far you go in this deal. If Independiente doesn't want to do it, then they don't do it.
Nathan Pugh, and there's other stuff in here. The rest of it has to do with Champions League. Nathan Pugh with and Europa League, technically.
We'll get into Champions League, too, because those are the two things we've talked about so far.
Yeah. Nathan Pugh, would Spurs fans be happy or consider an overall season a win with a League Cup ceremony?
Well, that would be Europa League and Premier League, but okay, go ahead. No, they shouldn't. That's not good enough. This was embarrassing, and their league performance has been too embarrassing for, I think, what they should be happy about. League Cup's not good enough. If you had gotten further in Europa League and you'd went out in semifinal round, you'd went out fighting, whatever, sure. Not after the way you went out here. I don't think there's anything you can do to make it a successful year.
And then other folks commenting just on the draw in general. I'll go rapid fire real quick. Ropes, a possible likely City Bayern semifinal is a tough pick. Cupper's looking at Porto and then Madrid or Liverpool. We have Chelsea fans in the chat. And so we have Chelsea fans going back and forth. And Joe Johnstone, our resident Dortmund fan, says, toughest pass doesn't matter. We got it.
Yeah, you don't have it, but it's not going to be easy. It's the toughest path, even maybe more so than Porto, just because that city's been so good lately. I don't see them really challenging it. I think City can hurt Dortmund going forward. I just don't think Dortmund is good enough defensively to deal with City, but as we've seen, they can put up goals, and City's going to have to produce here. It's not going to be a walkover for them. I think they do, and I think they get through, but Dortmund will make them sweat.
Yeah, and like I said, conversation with a lot of other folks going with each other, talking about the draw and things like that, but we're caught up on Twitter.
Okay, what were the ones you blew through really fast? What were the opinions from, I think Cuppers was one?
Cuppers was saying Porto and then Liverpool and then the googly eyes emoji.
I'm assuming he's talking about Chelsea's draw.
Yes, Chelsea's draw.
Googly eyes emoji.
It's just the eyes wide open or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, help him out,
I just never heard it called that. I was just caught off guard.
Yeah. Chelsea got a good draw. They're going to be happy about that draw. I was listening to SiriusXM FC for the draw this morning, and their resident Chelsea, I think he does stuff with Chelsea TV, Neil Barnett, He was very happy about the draw when it came up for Porto. So I get it. Chelsea fans should be happy, and they should be happy about the potential semifinal portion of it. They won the draw. We'll see if they actually win the Champions League.
Yeah. Domer says, pitter patter, let's get at her, discussing Chelsea drawing Porto.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, I'm going to scroll back a little bit and try to get caught up on the Twitch pitch. PD asked if another team had offered more on Alan Franco. They haven't. I mean, it was rumored all at one time, really strangely, all from the major people who maybe got a tip from somebody to say it. But then it's been refuted that there's actually an offer on the table from anybody else other than Atlanta. So that's what we know at this point. Let's see. Burned talking about the back and forth, and some of it's based off the tweets about Atlanta United looking elsewhere and trying to get a deal done now. Byrne says Atlanta's not winning CONCACAF Champions League with this roster. I'm sorry. Okay. Next year, 1 year into hindsight, yeah, go for it. But right now, nope, not likely. The reason I disagree with you, Byrne, is you've got it tough but manageable to get to the semis, and then you're going to be in the second half of the year where you would expect to be better than you are day one, and that's where you could see a Club America. So I don't think you punt on anything. But I think now, and we've talked about this, I mean, I think that doesn't even have to do with it here. Because even if you get Alan Franco, get this deal done today, the process of getting him involved, I don't think he's available for the first leg against Alajuelense. I think maybe the second leg, more likely the start of the MLS season and a quarterfinal if you get through Alajuelense. So I don't think Champions League is driving the conversation at all. I think it's just in general. I don't think Champions League is what's driving that. I disagree with that. I think it's just you want to get him in, and you'd like to get him into where he's contributing into the season in April or May. And if it's Alan Franco, if it's somebody else, you want to get them here and get them playing and not have to wait to the summer to then onboard them, and then you're not going to have them fully flying until maybe mid-August. So I understand it. I also think maybe it's a little bit of a disingenuous situation here about you sign somebody right now and they're going to play April 6th. I don't know if that's even going to be legally possible, let alone the right approach. I don't think that's driving the conversation. I don't. And I know it's easy to point there. I just don't think that's it. I think it's about getting them in for the season as early as possible. Ragamuffin says, I don't know the difference between Alan Franco and Adam Franco. He and that club can kick dirt. Woo! But these things are important, and it's why we dig so deep into them. So you understand when a rumor comes up about Independiente, it's like, oh, wait a minute. This is how they do business. Okay, this is a problem. But also, you need to know that they have to do business because they have a bunch of debts that are coming due. And yeah, they might be able to get creative with funny money, with getting money to other clubs that they owe transfers for. When you owe players money, the players don't accept funny money. So I mean, you're running out of time if you're Independiente. You got to get some cash in. You got to pay some of this stuff off. So they got to make a deal. If they don't make this one, they're going to be in a really bad spot going forward. I don't think they can bluff their way out of the issues with FIFA and owing these players the money that they do. That's why I think ultimately they get a deal done. I think this is their version of hardball. I think they get a deal done because they're going to have to. The problem is if they have angered their deal partners enough to walk away from the table, because there are other center backs that you can get a deal done for and maybe not have to sweat so much in actually getting it done. So we'll see. PD asked about the training session on Saturday. It's a couple things, PD. It's not an Atlanta United decision when things are geo-blocked in preseason. That's an MLS rule. That's a league-wide thing. I don't know the situation with this, but it is not a preseason game. It's a different situation. So hopefully it will be available for everybody. I think that's the idea here because it is structured differently so everybody can see it. It'll be at atlutd.com/live. Coco about Alajuelense. They've been a team on fire. I wouldn't be surprised if the first leg is a punch in the mouth. Very similar to Herediano in 2019. I mean, they were not a team on fire, but they were a good team, and they punched Atlanta in the mouth in that game. You handled it in the second leg. That could be what you're in for here, is you got to survive the first leg, keep it close, win the home leg, take care of business. Alajuelense is a team on fire, but the competition they're playing is not at the level of Atlanta United. It's not at the level of Major League Soccer. That needs to be understood as well. They've also got a bunch of players playing right now in Costa Rica's U23's. They had 5 in the starting lineup yesterday against the U.S. They had 4 players called up to the Costa Rican national team for games against Bosnia and Herzegovina and Mexico coming up. They're going to get them back for a A-League game against Herediano, and then they're going to play Atlanta United. So maybe that's going to hurt them with guys not getting that little bit of a break. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where it goes. But they haven't been tested in the same way like an Atlanta United can test them. Probably since last time they were in Champions League and they played a Mexican opponent. The drop-off between MLS and the Costa Rican League, it's pretty severe. And right now the drop-off even from Alajuelense to Saprissa is pretty big. Saprissa is not where they've been. So you're not getting tested in the same way. But they're winning the games in front of them. Shiva says, do we need a center back right now? Is it critical? Jarrett, what do you think? Does Atlanta have to go get a center back right now to get through the first part of the season?
I don't know that they do. I think you'd like to have one. I don't think you can have enough center backs. I think you can survive, though, if you don't get one. You still have Anton Walks, who I know people are torn on. Anton Walks is fine.
He's fine.
It's fine.
Yep.
I think I would feel better if you still had a Franco Escobar, but that deal is that ship obviously has sailed. You're still going to have Alex DeJohn coming in. You still have a George Campbell who, at some point, you're going to have to throw him into the fire, and you're going to have to see what he can do. I think you got bodies, and I know I'm forgetting names right now because I'm not looking at a roster off the top of my head. You've still got bodies that can play center back, and especially if you end up playing, 4 at the back with just 2 center backs and 2 fullbacks, I think you're okay. Like I said, yeah, I completely understand the idea of wanting to get more and wanting to get better. You absolutely should want to do more and get better. But it's also you're not crippled by not having another center back. I don't think you're crippled in the same way that the LA Galaxy have been crippled for half a decade on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that. You want to get better at all times, but you're not going to make a bad deal today out of desperation. I just don't think that. Thomas Jawin says,
where I'm at
go ahead.
with it right there.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in a position where you need to scramble a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas Jawin says, I think absolutely Atlanta United is moving on. If Independiente needs the deal, they can come back with hat in hand. I don't think anything's changing until the end of the day today. If Franco's got a ticket to fly to Atlanta, whatever time he's got to go to the airport's probably your deadline for getting this thing done. And if it's done for him to get on a plane, then you're going to move forward. If it's not, then you're probably going to move on at that point because I don't think you're going to keep coming back to the table on this one if it drags on. But there should still be some more time today, and we'll see what happens. I think the news about the Sao Paulo thing not really being legitimate or not leading to anything anytime soon anyway changes it. I mean, the thing to keep in mind on Franco, again, he's out of contract June 22. He can sign a pre-contract in the winter window, December 21, January 22. You're going to have to make a sale on him if you're Independiente next summer or June at the latest. That's your last chance to do it. The only way the Sao Paulo thing would make any sense, because it doesn't sound like they're going to scramble together $4 million right now, is if it's going to come in whatever summer window it can do for Brazil. Well, Independiente is going to have to pay some of these debts before that. So I don't know if that helps them, actually. It feels like a lot of the stuff that happened with Barco. We've agreed to this, but now we want to cover the taxes. Now we want to cover this. Now we want this. Oh, yeah, there's this other team that's really interested. Oh, who are they? Oh, yeah, it's those guys over there. Yeah, they're going to come in and they're going to put an offer on the table.
They go to another school.
Let's see them. Yeah, they go to another school. You don't know them, but they're here. They're real. Yeah, sure. They'll be here in a minute.
They're from Niagara Falls. Yeah.
They'll be here in a minute. They're going to put a deal on the table. Yeah. They're going to do it. Sure, it's going to happen. You probably need to pay more because they're coming. Oh, I'll just wait. I'll wait till they get here. That's what's going to happen here. So let's see how it goes. Stay tuned. It's a fun ride. Welcome to telenovelas on transfers in Independiente. J-Dub says, could the front office be in a position where 2.8 is absolutely the max you can offer due to the cap? I don't know. I mean, sure, they could be. They could not be. It's a guessing game. It's speculation. And anybody who tells you otherwise is either really got good access to salary cap figures that nobody else has ever had when it comes to MLS, or they're guessing. I mean, it's just we don't know how much allocation money you're sitting on. We don't know how many players you're buying down with allocation money. We don't even know actual salary figures. There's so much that we don't know. You know, we don't even know this year, like exactly the U23 stuff and who's fitting where and how this is going to go. So could you be in that situation? Absolutely. But we don't know what kind of wiggle room you actually have here. Byrne thinks Campbell's a sleeper, and if Heinze can get him going, will be fine for now. I think so too. I do. I think Campbell could really be a big surprise. Thomas Jewin says, in Atlanta United will still talk to Independiente if we haven't progressed too far with another team. I kind of think that this might be the end of the road for them. Alan Velasco would be the only other one that maybe you suffer through another conversation if you have a chance to get Velasco. Who knows? Sosa can also play center back if needed. That is true. That is a possibility. Ezra says, what if our front office is rushing to do it? Do you think it'd be safer to wait until the summer to find out center back? You'll have more options in the summer, but if you want somebody in now to help you in the first half of the season, then you need to get a deal done now. And there are players that can help you. There are players in Argentina that I think you could find a club that will actually do business in a proper way and get it done. It just depends on how you rank the priority of this. Do you want somebody now out of a smaller pool, but you're happy with the options you can get, or do you want to wait for potentially a larger pool to shop from in the summer? I don't think that means Europe. I think a lot of people always assume, like, oh, you just go to Europe and do this. Different market entirely. So I think you could get a deal done now, and Franco would be a good deal. Got to get the other club to actually sign off on it. Just where it stands. Again, I don't think it's about CONCACAF Champions League help. I really don't, because I don't think you're going to get somebody in for the first leg right now. You also have Alex DeJohn as well, who has been training. Keep that in mind. That gives you a little more stability. That gives you a little more cover. These things are true. Hard to keep up with all the chat on the Twitch pitch, which is awesome. Okay, Thomas Jewin, I misunderstood you. Sorry. I was saying on Franco, I'll bet Atlanta United is starting to make other calls today, but we'll still talk to Independiente about Franco if they haven't made another tentative deal for center back. Yeah, I don't know if they've actually made any serious calls yet. I think you're going to take this down to the wire and try to get the deal done. I mean, you can play the game, too, that it could be being played on the other side of, well, you've got this club over here that's going to make an offer. Well, we've got this guy over here that we're going to sign. What do you want to do about it?
Yeah.
So, sure. I mean, that can happen, too. And there's probably a list of other names. And yeah, you can drop some names. It's all negotiating, and we're not in the room. So, I mean, let's back off of the super detailed ways of how this is going to go. We don't know. We don't know how complicated this thing is. All we know is it's complicated. And all we know is that Independiente has been a difficult club to deal with. And all we know at this point is it's the top of the hour, and that means John gets to stretch and tell us about Steve Apolinski from Decatur, GA.
Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go. 3 different ways that you could do it to have your questions answered about this topic. 1, shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com. 2, pick up the phone, 404-377-9191. Get a free consultation that way. 3, use the World Wide Web, large device or small, in the address bar, aa-legal.com. Hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the home page. And with the bevy of topics and information that you can see in regard to the entire history and the scope of Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, and all of the things that they can help you with. If you still have questions after you've looked at that bevy of information, there's a pop-up window that pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. You can get your questions answered that way as well. At the bottom of the homepage, there's a lot of different accolades Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, have garnered in their history, but they are recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, the two time zones withstanding, the Eastern and the Central. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place you need to go, and the website for Apolinsky & Associates, LLC is aa-legal.com.
All righty. Give us your scores.
See, it's too low for me to listen for the .com.
I'll crank it up, John. Every time I've cranked it up, you said it the other way. So, fine. Whatever. Man, everybody complaining. Your volume was too low from Hutcho. His headphones it was too low. Jarrett's been too low today. Yeah. Sorry, Mateo's having a rough day. Don't be mean to Mateo, okay? Don't be mean to Mateo. Let's see if Mateo can get. Yes, let's see if Mateo can get this one done with Mike Conti joining us now at 10 o'clock, or actually 10:03. I think he's starting to get used to the later call time. We'll get caught up on everything outside of Alan Franco when it comes to Atlanta United, and we'll talk about what's coming up tomorrow. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good. We've talked Champions League this morning. We have talked about telenovelas out of Argentina and transfer sagas and madness. It's been fun.
Guys, can I disconnect with you for like 10 seconds and switch off our awful Wi-Fi? I can hear you a little bit better.
Yes, and you won't sound like Johnny Five from Short Circuit. Yes.
Okay. Call me back in like 10 seconds.
Okay. Again, not Mateo's fault. Be nice to Mateo.
It's the interwebs.
Mateo didn't hurt anybody.
Mateo didn't do it.
Except John's score.
Leave Mateo alone. Let's see if this is better.
Did I really sound like Johnny Five?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You sounded like a robot.
I love that movie.
Yeah, you sounded like a robot.
I love that movie. I mean, that both of them really. I mean, aside from the very unfortunate moment when Johnny Five decided to join the Los Locos gang, it really was a great, very heartwarming 2-movie series with lots of Steve Guttenberg and lots of robot hilarity.
And lots of Fisher Stevens, too.
Yes, you forgot that. Yes, absolutely right. So, yeah, Short Circuit 2 was, I don't know why. Like, I feel like when I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, that movie was on TV like every day during summer vacation. So
easy right speed to garner, and you can just sit there.
Must have been.
Well, I mean, you didn't have Ali Sheedy, and you had a lot of Fisher Stevens, and it was more focused on the robot, so I could definitely understand why Short Circuit 2 made the rounds as much as it did.
Yeah, it was like, I feel like the summer before Caddyshack 2.
Oh, it was sacrilege.
Yeah, I know. But as a kid, I loved it because they put a miniature golf course at Bushwood, and I thought that was really cool. So, but when you're a really young kid of about our age, which is, around 40, you can probably remember there was like that one movie that was on TV practically every day during summer vacation, and you probably watched it 10 or 15 times. And Short Circuit 2 was that one for me, and probably, I'm going to guess like the summer of 89 or 90.
I got a better one for you on Short Circuit 2.
Okay.
My first elementary school date that my mom dropped me off at the movie theater for with my, how would it have been, 5th grade or 6th grade? I think 5th grade. 5th grade girlfriend was Short Circuit 2.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just kind of impressed. You were kind of a player in the 5th grade. If you're allowed to go on dates like that.
Yeah.
Like, That did not happen in my house.
No.
Now, I could also make that sound like it was my parents preventing me from doing that, but in reality, no one wanted to date me in the 5th grade.
Right there with you, brother.
It was probably more that than anything else.
Fifth
But
grade,
I'm
man.
impressed, Jason.
Yeah,
I'm really
man.
impressed.
Yeah, I gotta thank Johnny Five for that one. Ask
Good
about
one.
Short Circuit too. We get to go to the movies, so good times.
Nice.
Oh man.
Didn't expect the Johnny Five talk this morning, but anyway.
Well, and then Caddyshack 2, where we learn that Jackie Mason is no Rodney Dangerfield.
No, he is not.
He's not at all.
No, he was not.
Not at all. And we're learning now, Mike, that doing transfers with clubs in Argentina is not always easy.
Yeah, this is the second really kind of complicated one with Independiente. I want to see how this totally plays out. I know I respect Merlo a lot. I'm not ready to declare this thing dead yet, because I've seen some reporting that the other club in this from Brazil might not have the financial resources to do what they are reported to be doing.
Accurate.
So I want to just wait and see. I don't want to declare this to be totally over yet, but if the reports are true, it's got to be really frustrating for Atlanta United. It's got to be really, really frustrating. And, unfortunately, I think concerning now, because you've gotten to a point where you're so deep into your training camp now and getting so close to Alajuelense, which is 2 weeks from Tuesday, that I think now, unless you were to find a center back somewhere in the league, where you weren't dealing with visas and quarantines and intake and all of that, the center backs on your roster currently are going to be your center backs for your first couple matches, which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay. But it's gotten to the point now where things have slowed down too much with the targets that you have elsewhere, that I don't know if it's realistic at this point to think that there's going to be a center back who is not currently today on Atlanta United's roster who's going to be able to play that position in time for the Alajuelense match.
Well, but I mean, at the same time, though, you're always wanting to improve, and I know that you're always looking. If you're a coach, you're always sitting there saying, "Okay, I always want to get better. I always want to get better." And if it just so happens that the window isn't there where a player can help you for Alajuelense, then that player can still help you out as you're getting into MLS season and get you better that way. So, I mean, it's the biggest thing is don't stop looking. Not that Atlanta United would ever do that, but just don't stop looking.
Yes. Oh, John, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they won't stop. And I'm sure they continue at this very second to look. But again, as I've been saying a couple times, I really want to see George Campbell go out and win this job. Or Anton Walks really go out and win this job. Or if it's Efrain Morales, really go out and win this job. You've got a couple young guys on your roster who can play this position. Go out and win it. Make this conversation a little less urgent. And I think it's a really good opportunity for those three men that I talked about. And I'm optimistic. I'm trying to stay optimistic. Alex DeJohn, too. That would be another one. I mean, someone who has some MLS experience, go out and win the job. Make this less of a concern for us. And I expect this. I'm really optimistic about George Campbell, guys. I really, really am. And he needs seasoning. But the very little bit that we saw from him last year, he played a half of one league match. He played a lot in the preseason. I thought he did really, really well. I think he can be up for it. I really do, at least at first. And remember, too, I mean, Atlanta United's situation at center back at the start of last season was not ideal either, because Miles Robinson got hurt in the Leones Negros match. So, you went into Nashville without a first-choice center back, and the same in the Cincinnati match, and you won them both. Definitely hurt you against Club America. But, I'm trying to stay optimistic and also trying to hold out hope that maybe something can still be done to get this Alan Franco thing across the finish line. I know it doesn't look good this morning, but I'm not giving up on it yet.
Jarrett's with us. He can unmute himself and fire off a question here.
Yeah, sure. Why not? As far as get away from the whole center back fiasco, because God, I've got a headache at this point, even thinking about any more center backs. Let's look ahead instead of looking behind. Looking ahead to this weekend, what are you looking for? And it can be center backs. We can bring this full circle. I don't mind looking ahead to the Charleston dual practice meetup, whatever we want to call it.
It is a meetup.
Yes, it is not a friendly. I want to really drive that point home. Jason and I will do the stream tomorrow at 10:30, and I've been doing a lot of work, over the last couple of days, just preparing for this. Let's be totally transparent with everyone. This is not a full friendly. This is a joint training session. So, what am I looking for? Great question, Jared. Within the context of this not actually being a full-fledged match, but more of a kind of a more significant training session than most, because I guess it's televised. I just want to say combinations. We've gotten some hints in our discussions with Mikey Ambrose and with Tyler Wolf and with Jackson Conway. We spoke to Alec Can yesterday. I just want to see combinations. I don't know if we're going to learn a whole lot about tactics or even, a whole lot about Heinze's positioning philosophy. I guess we might see a little of that. But what I want to see is, Mikey Ambrose indicated that, Marcelino Moreno is playing out wider. All right, cool. Who's he combining with? Are we going to see down the left a Bello, Barco, Moreno kind of triangle? Down the right, are we going to see a Lennon, Dom, Heinemann, or Josetu kind of combination? But there again, I even want to kind of preach caution on that, because this training session tomorrow is really designed for both teams, including Charleston, who opened their training camp just yesterday, just to kind of experiment with some things. So I don't even know if the combinations we see are really anything that we can draw conclusions upon. If we see that a couple different groupings seem to have chemistry, that I think would be a really good sign. But this is very, very different. And this is not like the Birmingham match last year. This is not like the what did we do 2 years ago? The Cholos match. This isn't like the Nashville match from a couple years ago. This is different. This is really going to look more like a practice than anything else. So I guess, Jared, to answer your question, the biggest thing I'm looking for, and I know this is a cop-out answer, and I've given it a couple times during this preseason, the biggest thing I'm looking for is for everyone to walk off the pitch healthy when it's all over tomorrow afternoon.
Did you say the magic word about practice?
Uh-oh. Well, we're talking about
practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
AI is 100% correct.
Yeah. It's not a game that he, dies for.
No.
We're talking about practice.
It is a joint training session, and I'm with Mike on this. I think when we say combinations, what I'm looking for, it's not so much like the back line in the midfield. It's who's paired up with Miles Robinson. What are the outside backs with Miles there? What are the outside backs in a different configuration? What's the midfield trio where Santiago Sosa is involved? Who's with him? Things like that. I'm looking for positional grouping combinations. Chemistry is definitely something to look for with different groups. And I'm looking at the young guys. And the young guys who are new, like Sosa, like Ibarra, and Eric Lopez, I'm looking at how they look here. Are they comfortable, or are they in a rhythm? Are they looking like they're up to speed here? I'm also looking at Tyler Wolf, at Jackson Conway, Efrain Morales, George Campbell. Are they looking up to speed? Are they looking like they're ready to contribute? It's going to be hard to take big picture things out of this tomorrow, but I think you can take some things on that depth chart that we've talked about and maybe where people are placed because of how they look tomorrow individually.
Right. And I think the other fun thing, too, is we don't get like a massive amount of time to be able to look at some of the academy kids. I know that a lot of those matches are streamed, but not all of them, and we certainly don't get to see them train a lot. We do know that some academy kids are training with the first team right now. We do know that most of the second team is training with the first team. So I think that could be a lot of fun as well. Bradley Camden-Feo is someone who went down to Guadalajara with them last year. We thought actually he might play against Leones Negros, assuming he would be training in this group. And I think that's a safe assumption. I mean, I don't want to say that's confirmed because I don't know. But it would be fun to see a guy like that because I don't get to see him a whole lot. I didn't really get to see Macho play a whole lot last year. I mean, we know he's training with the first team this year because he's got a first-team contract. So that'll be a lot of fun to see. Just to kind of build some familiarity with players who might not necessarily be with the first team a lot in 2021, but might be with them a lot in 2022. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, again, stressing this is a practice and not a preseason friendly, but I do feel like we've seen in some preseason friendlies in Birmingham last year, really standing out to me with Tyler Wolf, some of those academy players who got an opportunity to work with the first team, made the most of it, and kind of set the stage for a very, very important year for them personally. And maybe we'll get to see a little bit of that tomorrow. But again, I want to stress that this is not your typical preseason friendly that's being televised at all. We're not there yet. I would imagine what they do in Birmingham a week from Sunday would probably look a lot more like a full-fledged preseason match than what you're going to see tomorrow.
100%.
Yeah, Mike, we've been talking about how this is, not the game that you go out there and die for and play every game like it's your last. We're talking about practice.
Not a game. Not a game.
You mentioned that you're optimistic about George Campbell. Who else are you optimistic about either so far or are you leaning into? Who else are you optimistic about?
Well, Jake Mulroney looks like he played a heck of a match. Heck of a scrimmage last Saturday against Tormenta. Really, really encouraged by the highlight snippets that we saw. Again, we don't know the context. I mean, those may have been the three best balls he hit all day.
It was a well-edited, very close shot. It was very snappily put together edit package.
It was. But I thought Mulroney really started to come on at the end of last year. Kind of had a slow start. Really had a tough time in Orlando at the MLS's back tournament. So, again, and I want to stress, could be really, really hard to read into this tomorrow because it's not really a game or a match. But I just want to see how he looks. And I hope he's out there and he's having fun. And, again, from a chemistry standpoint, all right, who's he combining with and has he developed a little bit of continuity with a specific pairing or grouping of players? So I'm very optimistic about him. And the other guy I'm really, really optimistic about, and I think, unfortunately, it's going to be very tough for him to get a ton of time with the first team this year because they're so loaded at his position group. But Jackson Conway, I really like the way he conducts himself. He's 18 going on 30, as far as I'm concerned, from a maturity standpoint. I don't think he would shy away from any moment. I think he's a really confident guy. He scores some spectacular goals, which, from my perspective as a play-by-play announcer, I love. Again, not sure how much of it we'll see tomorrow and not sure how much of it we'll see this season, but I really think Jackson Conway's ceiling is really, really high. And I hope he gets enough matches this year where he can build upon the, enormous positives that he had in 2020 with the second team and then in Champions League.
You actually went right where I was going to ask you about how you were feeling about a guy like Conway. So let's go somewhere else. Another guy who we just saw sign a first-team deal, and you talked about him briefly, was Machop Chol. I mean, what have you seen? Have you seen anything from him in prep for this? I know we've all been limited in what we've been able to see, but just I swear every time I look at him, he gets bigger.
Yeah,
and it just seems like they sent a kid to Wake Forest and brought back a physical specimen to play on the wing.
Yeah, I want to know what the weight training program and the training table looked like at Wake Forest because he came back a grown man. The thing I like about Machop is that he's got a lot of experience because he played 4 years collegiately. So he's obviously been in the academy a while. He's played. Jason is very familiar, I know, with his playing career over in DeKalb County, but he's not your typical like newly signed homegrown player. He does come in with a lot of experience and a lot of maturity. And I hope and I think that would give him a lot of confidence. I think Machop's got an opportunity in this training camp. Like we talked about George Campbell. I think George is obviously in a different place than Machop, but Machop's got a chance to go out and prove that he belongs to stay up with the first team. And he's got to take advantage of these opportunities. And it's not just what you're going to see tomorrow. It's not just what happened against Tormenta or what he could potentially do against Chattanooga or what he could potentially do against Birmingham. It's every minute of every training session. How is he processing all of this information that he's being given? And this goes for everyone, by the way, not just Machop. We continue to hear how intense everything has been at the training ground since this all got started pretty much a month ago, not just from a fitness standpoint, but just from an informational standpoint with all the video that they're doing and all the things that they're learning. So Machop's really got an opportunity if he stays locked in and he processes this as well as I know he's capable of. That's going to go a long way to the way that Heinze rates him as well. So really excited to, again, what I've seen of Machop is very limited to Wake Forest highlights and watching John and Jason call twos matches. So I'll be really looking forward to seeing him in person tomorrow.
Now, I think the thing about Machop, you nailed it coming in, is he's in a different position than Tyler Wolf, than Jackson Conway, Efrain Morales, especially Campbell, because he went to college and played in college for 4 years. And played at a top program at Wake Forest. So, he comes in more mature in some ways because he's older. He's had some different experiences. Conway's had more professional experience. Machop, hasn't had that opportunity because when he was here, it was before the twos time. So Conway's got, I think, the most professional experience of any of that group. Maybe right alongside Campbell, who had a lot of it in 1 year, and in last year didn't really have it. Conway played more last year than Campbell did. So Machop, though, has, if I remember right, 50, 60 college games under his belt in some high-pressure situations. So he should be able to make that adjustment maybe faster than somebody like a Tyler Wolf or an Efrain Morales because of his age and his experience level. It's hard to compare them all like for like because I think each one of that homegrown group right now bring very different things to the table.
We talked about the back and we talked about guys like Jake Mulraney, Machop Chol and such. I think a lot of folks who will be looking at what's going to be going on tomorrow. I think it'll be, in a way, I think it'll be a relief, Mike, for folks to see a healthy Jurgen Dahm out there, to see a Joseph Martinez who is growing into his 100%. And I think that's just another part of this whole process where you've got that physical evidence in front of you if you're following the team, where you can sit there and say that 2020 is behind us and we can focus on 2021 now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I want to stress again, they're doing 4 30-minute periods tomorrow. If Joseph only plays one of the 4 periods, don't read anything into that.
It's okay.
They've got 4 strikers they need to work through right now.
Yeah.
If Jurgen Dahm only plays one of the 4 periods, and by the way, he's not playing with the first group, Don't read anything into that.
I don't think it's even going to look like a first group, to be honest. I think you might see it mixed and matched, like the third group up front and the first group in the back.
A first choice midfield with your second choice forwards and your third choice, and I hate to even say third choice, but you know what I mean. Your third choice defenders. You are 100% right. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there tomorrow, and we get a team sheet. But I would be really surprised if in the first period it's a first choice on first choice situation. I just don't see that. The way this has been described to us, this really, again, and I know I'm repeating myself. This is a practice. This is not a full-scale preseason friendly by any stretch.
Not a game.
So do not read anything into if, your first center back grouping is just, for example, is Anton Walks and Efrain Morales. Don't read anything into that. And I'll give you another one. I mean, we talked about it on stoppage time this week. There could be a position battle going. We don't know, but we think there might be a position battle going right now between Hindman and Rossetto for who might be the 8 when you go down to Alajuelense on April 6th. If Rossetto's out there first, I wouldn't read anything into that necessarily. If Hindman's out there first, I wouldn't read anything to that. If Hindman's playing as a 10 and Rossetto's playing as an 8, which could happen, I wouldn't read anything into that either. That Heinze is still rating guys.
Yeah.
And this is evolving. And the Alajuelense match is coming up, but you still have more than 2 weeks to sort all this out.
Yeah, you're not going to get clear answers tomorrow. And I don't think anything is intended to try to even get to clear answers tomorrow. This is a training session that you're going to be learning things about different players. It is a test. It is an opportunity to train against someone else, which is always welcomed. The Birmingham game is probably far more of a preparation for Alajuelense than this is. This is following up on all the work you've been doing and the way you want to play. But I think that's what you're getting to more than anything here is you're wanting to reinforce the principles of play that you've been working on in training over the last month, and also introduce some principles of play for some different situations. You might work on 3 in the back tomorrow. You might take 30 minutes to work on that. You might work on 2 up top, because there will be times at some point in a match where your best option to score goals against the opposition is to pair Joseph and Lisandro Lopez up top. Okay, get a look at it against an opponent. It's not about winning the 30 minutes. It's not about the score tomorrow. It's about building on the principles that you've talked about. I would imagine that each 30 minutes is going to have its own kind of goals that they're looking for here, their own objectives that they're looking for. And they'll all have some different ones. And that's what a training session is here.
Yeah, and I would not expect any little fancy off the training ground set pieces or anything exotic like that. I think from what we've learned about Heinze, there will be nothing like that with cameras around. I don't believe. So again, don't read anything into that. If they're playing short corners, don't read anything into that. If they're not being overly aggressive on set pieces in the final third, don't read anything into that. That is the one part where I do think Atlanta United will try very, very hard to conceal anything they might be working on. And by the way, I think the club, I have to say, I think the club deserves some credit here for the transparency. They don't have to televise a training session. They're doing this because their supporters want to see the team, and that's great. But Atlanta United, they don't. There's no rule that tells them that they have to televise a friendly or a training session or anything like that. So I do give Atlanta United credit for being transparent enough where they're going to let us see a training session. They don't have to do that. But I do think it would be in the club's best interest if They played it very, very close to the vest on things like that, set pieces, how they're going to run corners, things like that. I don't want them showing Alo Lenze more than they need to show them.
It'll be vanilla. It'll be basic. You're not going to have anything dialed up there. It'll be pretty simple. J-Dub asked if any other MLS clubs have televised training sessions like this. I'm sure it's happened.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere in 26 years somebody showed something like this, but this is kind of unique. It's going to be unique for Mike and I. I mean, we'll try to talk everybody through what we're seeing as best as we can, but it's going to be, not a game. It's a training session, and I think the goals are not necessarily going to be the score at the end of each 30 minutes or at the end of the 120. It's what you're working on to get better for the season.
Honestly, Jason, I don't even know if we're going to have a score bug in a clock.
It shouldn't.
Because that's not the point.
Yeah.
That's really not the point of what they're doing. I do not plan on signing off tomorrow and saying, once again, Atlanta United wins 5-0 over Charleston, because that's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, again, it's going to be, I know from my perspective, this is a very new thing for me. I've never done commentary for a practice before. So the presentation, I know on my end, is going to be much, much different. But like you said, we're going to try to talk everyone through it. We're going to have some information that we can share. We've talked to a lot of people this week. You've seen some of it on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page, some of it you haven't seen yet. So we really do appreciate the players and everyone that we've spoken to, even non-players who have given us a lot of information that we'll be able to share with you tomorrow. One other thing I would just recommend is I think this is going to start at 10:30, but honestly, this is so informal that it might not be a bad idea if you keep an eye on the website, like, say, starting at 10 a.m. or 10:15. That's how informal this is. I don't even know if you're going to have a 4-person referee crew tomorrow. I mean, I assume you probably will, but I don't even know that. That's how informal this is. So I would recommend maybe keeping an eye on that atlutd.com/live well before the scheduled 10:30 start, because I get the impression that if Mike Anhauser and Gabriel Heinze, meet at 10:15 and say, let's go, we're going to go. It's that kind of thing.
It's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be different.
Very different.
Before we get to the Freestyle Friday portion of our Friday interview with you, Mike, we can tease the next interview that's coming up over on a Stoppage Time Extra. Mike and I had a chance late yesterday to talk to Alec Can. Alec was great. Alec, we talked about his aspirations in coaching and what he's been doing in that direction. But I thought he gave some unique insight because as recovering from the shoulder surgery he had at the end of last season before the CONCACAF Champions League match, he's not fully back into sessions yet, but he's involved, and he's been involved on the video side. So I think he had a really unique perspective.
Yeah, and I thought you asked him a good question. He had a great answer about how he kind of feels about being a goalkeeper in the Heinze system and being a goalkeeper involved in build-up. So you'll get some really good insight on that when that interview gets posted.
1 p.m. today.
1 p.m. today? Okay,
1 p.m. today. I just checked with the producers. 1 p.m. today.
Okay. Thank you, Mateo. It was a great interview. I really like visiting with Alec a lot. You won't see him tomorrow. He is still in a separate group in training, still recovering. So I'd imagine you'll see Lundgaard tomorrow. You might see Novo tomorrow. I don't want to make that assumption, but it wouldn't shock me. But you won't see Alec Can. He's still recovering. Even at the end, I asked him, I don't know if you all remember this. In 2018, when Guzan got sent off against SKC and Paul Christensen had to play because Alec was hurt, Atlanta United had a match 4 days later against Orlando, and I asked him if there was any doubt that he'd be able to play in that match, and I thought he had an interesting answer to that one, too. So 1 o'clock today on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page.
Okay, people have already asked what's on the grill this weekend.
What is on the grill? No Hawks game tonight. No Hawks game tomorrow night.
Oh, so you got some time to get some work done now.
He's got a game on Saturday morning, John.
I'm doing
a practice.
2 games
sorry,
tomorrow.
A practice.
I'm sorry. I'm doing a practice and a game tomorrow. I'm doing Atlanta United and then heading over to the arena to do Hawks. But then nothing on Sunday. So I got to go through the freezer and kind of assess what has been freezer burned and what is still usable.
Okay. So my first question for you, and this is something that we actually had to deal with in our freezer this week.
Oh, no.
Okay.
When it comes to freezer burn, is anything recoverable with freezer burn, or do you pretty much just sit there and go, "Guys, see you later"?
In my opinion, if something has been in there long enough to be freezer burned, it should not be eaten in any circumstance. Because it's been in there too long, it's just not going to be good. In my opinion, I know some people might disagree with me. Some people who, can do some creative things with stuff that's been in the freezer for a long time. I mean, you could really slow cook anything and salvage it. But in my opinion, if it's been in there that long, it's probably not going to be great.
Okay. Because I was thinking, is anything salvageable, like, high profile steaks or anything like that, or you just sit there and poke at it, and if it's done, it's done, and it's out the door. I mean, what's the deal?
You could, but eat fresh food. It's just better for you, and it tastes better. But yeah, I mean, if you have like a really good 60-day dry aged ribeye that's been in there for a couple weeks, you should definitely try to thaw that and eat it. But I mean, if something's been in there for a year. No.
No,
you don't want that.
No, I mean, even I have my limitations, but I mean, if this is like a high-profile steak, like from Omaha,
leaving that one alone.
John, what are your limitations?
No.
Exactly?
Oh no.
Please no.
Oh no.
No. This is important information. What are your limitations?
I don't like the look of it.
To food?
Well, yeah, Jason.
Is the health inspector on the phone with us?
Yes, he is.
No, well, I mean, and seriously, it's like we had some Omahas that were still in the freezer, and it was, it had been in the back of the freezer, but it wasn't like there for a year. I mean,
and those Omahas are vacuum sealed, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're in a lot better shape with that.
Yeah, and so it from the outside of the vacuum seal, and because it had been in the back of the freezer, it looked a little beaten up, and so we went ahead and cooked it, and it was fine. But I was just asking for the concept of asking about freezer burn.
John, how did you cook that Omaha? First of all, what was the cut, and how did you prepare it?
Well, I mean, you're asking me about something that the boss did. So,
how did she do it?
We actually have those George Foreman grills.
Yes,
and did it in there.
Yeah, I love the Foreman grills. I hate cleaning them, but I like the Foreman grills. I think for something quick and easy, that's a good way to go. But I'm assuming that the boss, seasoned it and just didn't throw a raw piece of meat on a Foreman grill and serve it to you.
No, I mean that is a question for the boss, but I would imagine that she actually seasoned it too. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, this isn't as bad as I thought.
But like I said, I was just looking for ground rules when it came to freezer burn. That was basically what I was looking for.
Yeah, I think welcome to cooking down here on a Friday.
Yeah.
I think if it's vacuum sealed, you have a much better shot at salvaging it than something that was like in a Ziploc bag or, wrapped in foil or something like that.
Yeah, that's a really important differentiation. That's the best lesson I think we learned from that portion of this. Is the vacuum sealed is definitely a better way to go here. You're a little safer there. J-Dub with our final question for you, Mike. This is a good one. I'm going to add a little bit to it to kind of make it make sense.
Okay.
So let's say that Bobby Flay is listening to Soccer Down here because he's trying to learn about the game. And he decides, I really like this Mike Conti guy, and I'm going to bring him for a tryout on my Grilling with Bobby Flay show. What is your show-off smoker or grill dish you pull out?
Oh, boy. I I don't know if it's showing off because it's not nearly as difficult as it sounds. But I would take that tomahawk ribeye and reverse sear it for him. It's not that hard. It's just steps. And I think there are some things you can do when you reverse sear a tomahawk that make it a little bit custom to you. Like I put stuff in my compound butter that a lot of people don't. Some people don't even use butter. Some people use very little butter. I use a lot of compound butter because I think it really gives it a lot of flavor during the slow portion of the reverse sear. So that's probably what I would do. I've never taken a step wrong when reverse searing a tomahawk ribeye. So I think that would be what I'm most confident in doing. Yeah, like, sure, I could try to, spatchcock a chicken or do a spatchcock chicken or something like that. But chicken is chicken. Like, if calorie and fat content doesn't matter, I'm going to try to give Bobby Flay a heart attack by buttering the heck out of a tomahawk ribeye and reverse searing it for him.
See, I think he would enjoy that. I think he would enjoy that potential heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, what's his name? Mario Batali. He has a restaurant in Las Vegas where that's how he serves all of his ribeyes. They're all on the bone, tomahawk style, and they're carved tableside, basically, which is what I do with my tomahawks. And you put a little butter on it, and it's go time. It's never been bad for me.
I like it. All right, Bobby Flay, if you're listening, let us know if you need to contact Mike.
I don't know if I can deal with the pressure, though. Like, I know he's not Gordon Ramsay, but he's still Bobby Flay. Like,
Bobby's
I'd
pretty easy
choke
on people. No, Bobby. I think Bobby would coach you along.
I would choke.
No.
I would choke. Jason, how long have you known me? I always fail in the clutch. I would choke.
No.
See, I'd like to see Mike and Gordon Ramsay go at it.
No, I'd like to see you and Gordon Ramsay go.
Yes.
I'd actually like to see you and Nick Leafy go at it.
Yes.
We're still working on this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Nick would give you the Gordon Ramsay treatment.
For better or worse.
That I would like to see.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to happen, and it will be a fundraiser for Soccer in the Streets. I think Nick is getting jabs in his arm to be able to do this in an even better way than we initially expected. He is working to find places to get jabbed in the arm to be able to do this quicker. It is on that level.
I am too. By the way, if anyone can help me on the Twitch pitch or on Twitter, I am really, really struggling to find a jab. So
there are some people who can definitely help you because there's been people in our Discord who have shared some resources. So Mike Conti 929 on Twitter, let him know.
Please, yeah, that would be so helpful. I stayed up till midnight last night waiting for all the appointments to refresh, and I thought I had one, and then someone snaked it for me, and now they're all gone again. So I want to get this thing done. So if anyone has any insight, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Send Nick a message. He just said send him a message.
I will.
He's driving an hour and a half to get his shot.
Okay, well, hey, save one for me then.
And then you guys can both smack John upside the head when he tries to cook something.
No, I won't. I can't do that. John's too nice. But I can watch Nick do that.
Yes. You'll just throw something at him from behind. Good times. Mike, thank you.
Listen, for the first time this year, Jason, see you in the booth tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Let's go.
And it's going to be the first time we've called a practice, so this is going to be really crazy.
Yep.
Not a game. Not a game.
No, I'm excited. You guys have a great weekend. Take care.
You too.
Mike.
See ya.
Mike Conti 929. If you have tips on getting jabs in arms, let him know. I think Nick might be first in line. Looks like Walgreens is also being recommended by Colin. I know a lot of different people had suggestions there. Our Discord has been really helpful, I hope, to people because I've seen a lot of different suggestions going on there. Very cool. Lots of stuff following up on the Twitch pitch. Lots of people were really riled up about your conversation there, John. It's always fun to see the reactions when you start talking about food.
Well, the second freezer burn was even mentioned.
I was afraid.
This is gonna lead to a conversation about freezer burn ethics.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. I was trying to figure out freezer burn ethics.
Yeah, it was a little scary. It didn't get as bad as it possibly could.
No, I thought it was pretty reasonable. It went a lot. It could have gone so much worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It could have gone so much worse. That's the understatement of the year. Let me refresh just a little bit on Alan Franco, because I think we've had some new folks join us. Where things stand at this point from what we know right now. Last night, there were rumors put out there by multiple top-tier sources in Argentina that Sao Paulo had interest in Alan Franco, potentially to the point that they would offer $4 million for 80% of the pass versus 2.8/3 with the bonus triggered for games played for 50% of the pass and then buying the rest of it over time. That's what is reportedly on the table from Atlanta United. Now, this morning, there have been multiple reports that Sao Paulo does not confirm any interest in Alan Franco and that the amount of $4 million for 80% is too much. It doesn't make sense. That is being reported. There are also reports out there that Atlanta United is moving on and looking elsewhere for center back help. That is also being reported. There were reports last night that Alan Franco has a ticket for a plane to come to Atlanta tonight. That is still out there as a possibility. So lots of stuff on the table. I don't think we really have anything clear at this stage outside of the fact that Atlanta United has made an offer. Independiente has not fully accepted it yet. They had at least accepted it to the point that the player has a plane ticket, and now there is back and forth. That's what we know right now. Don't know when that'll change. Don't know if it'll change today. I would think at least we'll hear something if Alan Franco either gets on a plane or doesn't get on a plane. I think that's really the next update that could happen at some point today. Or the update that you might get first is Independiente's roster for the match tomorrow with Vélez. If he is on it, well, then you can assume he's not getting on a plane. Unless they're trying to spook Vélez, which they could be, because who knows with all of these games being played. This is like Monopoly, chess, sorry, and the game of life all rolled into one dealing with Independiente these days.
Yeah.
Game of life. Wow, what a nice callback.
Yeah, that was a fun one. It was always more involved and complicated. I mean, you didn't play it all that often.
So was life.
Yes.
Well, that's true. That's very accurate. Sadly, yes. And so is dealing with Independiente and anything resembling a transfer these days.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't see in Argentina, I believe it was yesterday, Herman Burgos had his first media availability in charge of Newell's. I'm really excited to see how his team looks at Newell's. And the amazing thing is, you've got the advertising boards behind any kind of these interviews, all the sponsors on the board behind there. I guess it was very windy, and it fell over, and he had a large-backed chair, kind of like what I have, and you could see that the board hit the corner of the chair. I don't know if it actually hit him in the head. He didn't flinch. He didn't even hesitate. He just kept on going.
Like the other accident that happened, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where the whole was it the ESPN down in South America, where the board just came and collapsed, the monitor hit the anchor in the back of the head? Did you see that one?
Yeah. It happens. Like Planeta Gol on TIC actually had a countdown of sponsor boards falling on people.
Wow.
In conjunction with this one, because it happens all the time. Because these things are like either, the step and repeats that are pretty flimsy, and if it's windy, they're going to fall over, or they're like a banner being held up by tape or rope or something. I mean, it happens. So I'm excited to see what Burgos' team looks like. Another one out of Argentina, Juan Roman Riquelme has allegedly had personal talks with Edinson Cavani of Manchester United as Boca Juniors step up their efforts to sign Cavani in the summer when he is out of contract. Manchester United can renew his contract and keep him around if he accepts that, but according to Infobay, Juan Roman Riquelme is reaching out, having some conversations with Cavani. That could get really fun. If Cavani shows up at Boca this summer, going into the knockout phase of the Copa Libertadores, if they get through that, yeah, that could be a lot of fun to watch. We got to get into Europa League yesterday because there's a whole bunch of talking points from the games. We giving you the draw. It's Granada, Manchester United. It's Arsenal, Slavia Prague. It's Ajax and Roma. It's Villarreal and Dinamo Zagreb. Let's start with that last one, Dinamo Zagreb, because we did not see this coming at all. Nobody did. Monday night on Soccer Over There, we might have been the first ones to actually talk about this in English. Everybody else was talking about it on Tuesday. The reports came out of Croatia that their Supreme Court had ruled in a case that had been going on for years that the president and sporting director, or the head coach, the manager and the sporting director of the club, same person, his sentence was being upheld by the Supreme Court of Croatia. 4 years, I think 8 months is what he was being sentenced to jail. His brother got an even longer sentence. There was embezzlement of money at the club that was going into, I think, their pockets along with other folks. He had been rehired after all this to manage the club, which is bonkers to me. So that happens Monday. You're thinking by Thursday, man, this thing's going to be a mess. Tottenham can walk through this. They're fine. It'll be easy. Well, not so much. Not so much at all. Jose Mourinho afterwards said, they left sweat, energy, blood. In the end, they even left tears of happiness. Very humble and committed. I have to praise them. On the other side, my team, I repeat, my team, they didn't look like it was playing an important match. If for any one of them it is not important, for me it is. For the respect I have for my career and my job, every match is important. For every Tottenham fan at home, every match matters. Another attitude is needed. To say I feel sad is not enough. What I feel is much more than sadness. He's throwing them under a bus. They might need to be thrown under a bus. I mean, they did look like it didn't really matter at times. They looked incredibly flat. The manager also has a lot to do with setting the tone going into a game, and there have been a lot of reports about those issues at Tottenham this year. I mean, even just talking about Dele Alli, just talking about Gareth Bale, there have been issues with the attitude at Tottenham this year. Hugo Lloris kind of continued on with that. He said, I just hope everyone in the changing room feels responsible for the situation because it's a disgrace. The taste of the defeat tonight is more than painful, and we are all responsible for that. We have a lack of basics, lack of fundamental. All our performances is a relation of that. Mentally, we should be stronger, more competitive. Today, I didn't feel that on the field. I mean, Jarrett, Tottenham, for who they are and the level of expectation around this club, looked like a tiny club that had never been there before yesterday, and they were thoroughly embarrassed by Dinamo Zagreb.
They were, and man, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how to go about it because it was an embarrassment. It's like I turned it on in the beginning of the second half. It's 1-0 Dinamo Zagreb, and you can think, all right, well, Tottenham came in, they're a little bit flat here, but they've still got, they're not going to give up a second goal, and they'll probably find one because Zagreb will go get hungry chasing one and get sloppy. No, they found the second goal, and then Tottenham had like a 5-minute spurt of, oh, man, we got to wake up and play. And then it just kind of died down, goes to extra time. It's just kind of flat. Defending is just, it's comical. The defending on that last goal is comical. 5 guys just don't close him down and let him get a shot off. A man wearing 99s out there dropping a hat trick on you. It's not Bradley Wright Phillips who's out there doing that, which you would expect with a man wearing 99. But even after that goal, you get like a little 5-minute push. And that after that 5-minute push, then, nothing. It was embarrassing. They should be embarrassed, but Jose should be embarrassed too.
Yeah, I agree. Because, as he said, that team's a representation of him. And the one thing that I never really saw, definitely early on when Jose emerged on the scene with what he did at Porto, with what he did at Chelsea, with what he did at Inter especially, you never saw one of those teams look like Tottenham did yesterday. Those teams would fight and run through every brick wall they could possibly find. They'd build a brick wall just to run through it for the man. Real Madrid, you saw some issues, and you started to see maybe some of the paranoia at times come out in Jose, and it eventually fell apart. But those teams still played hard for him. The second run at Chelsea, the Manchester United run, you saw cracks, but I can't remember any of his teams looking like they didn't play hard. Yeah, it's gaping holes in that brick wall. I mean, it's really bad, and they still don't want to run through it. I mean, Gareth Bale would just lay down. Dele Alli would look at it, quizzically and not really have an answer. It's just not good enough.
And Gareth Bale's a weird one for me, just because he is such an enigma of a human being.
Yeah.
So I mean, and because he's one you can absolutely point to, but he's one I'm kind of like I kind of give a side-eyed look at, where it's like Gareth Bale is such a unique person that I never really know how much to pin this sort of criticism on. Like, well, look at Gareth Bale. I'm like, okay, but Gareth Bale's entire career is an enigma wrapped up in a confusion.
But if his attitude is permeating through the group, and that's been one of
absolutely.
It's been one of the things that's come up about Tottenham is the group that is playing has been okay. The group that has been to the side has not been very involved and interested, and there started to be attitude issues. It's a problem, and I don't think it changes. We talked about it maybe a month ago or so. The milk was starting to turn and sour in Tottenham's fridge, and the expiration date's always hard to call when it comes to Jose, but it's not the organic milk that lasts longer, and it feels like it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter every stop that he takes. They've got some serious decisions to make at the end of this season, because this season, even if they win the Gummy Bear Cup's a failure. And I would have never thought that, because they haven't won a trophy in so long. I would have thought that, okay, they win a trophy, fine. It'll be okay. Not the way this has ended. It's a failure, and they've got decisions to make on signing Son and Kane to long-term deals. They've got a decision on Gareth Bale. They've got a decision on Dele Alli. They've got plenty of other roster decisions, but their biggest decision is Jose. And is it going to change? Is it going to get better? The long-term history here shows that it won't. It's not. It's not going to change. So it's time to move. It's time to move on for them. And if that means they have to rebuild a little bit, well, they need to rebuild a little bit, because it's not going to get better next year if you keep everybody in place and just continue with it. It won't. There's no way it can. There's been no history of that happening in Jose's career since he left Inter. There just hasn't. I mean, even Real Madrid, where it was still good, it got bad over time. And that's going to happen here. It's already happening, it looks like. I mean, this is embarrassing. Like, full credit to Dinamo Zagreb. Full credit to them for the win. And being able to block out, whatever is going on off the field and all this madness. But Tottenham was horrible. It's embarrassing. Stefano Pioli was fired up after Milan was knocked out with Manchester United. And it's good Nick Alifi's hanging out with us for this one. He was furious after the match. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, Milan was the better team, no question. Pogba gets the goal. They go through. Pioli felt like Milan deserved to go through. Yeah, I agree with him. I think most pundits praised Milan for their effort, for their performances. This is from Football-Italia, and they kind of combine things from different reports, and there's a couple attributions here that are important. But after the game, you see the managers come together like they always do. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer also, after this, in his post-game media availability, he was very, praising of Milan and their performance. He was really strong about how well they played and said that Manchester United didn't really play well. At the final whistle, they met, and Ole said, good team, is what he seemed to tell Pioli after the 1-0 win over Pioli's men. And Pioli said, good team, my A blank blank. I think that's it. You are nothing but And a blank, 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 I think there's 6 of them, Pioli responded, "This is according to Il Corriere dello Sport." He followed that up with, "Your sister has a good team." Why? Like, what?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure similar syntax was used the time that that Zidane put his head through a man's chest in a World Cup final.
At least Ole's not headbutting anybody, but
Yeah, good headbutt.
what? I mean, I'm baffled by this. Nick, I mean, I know Pioli might run hot, but what? That's a little odd.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is supposed to happen. If he's fired up about it and he's just fired up, that's completely fine. But wow, like, okay. Even Stefano Pioli doesn't like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Nobody likes Ole. Nobody likes Ole. Man, it's crazy.
What did Ole do to people?
I don't know. He says good
he's
team to somebody,
he's
and
trying to
they
pay
go
you
off.
A compliment for a great match, and then you sit there and you go, "Yeah, you're an A blank."
Nick says this is so far from how Pioli is normally. Yeah, I was baffled by this one. It's very strange. Maybe we'll hear more about it today as people ask Pioli about it more. Maybe we'll get more quotes. Mikel Arteta talked about Arsenal yesterday. He said, really happy to be through. Sometimes we have to be fair with ourselves. We were nowhere near the levels we could be. We were unstable with the ball. We gave it away. It's impossible when you give the ball away to have any structure. We created enough chances to win, but we're nowhere near the levels in which we can perform. He said, we'll get better. When it comes to decision-making and execution, it's a little bit more difficult. We need another win in the Premier League, and it's a big chance after the international break to get a run together. They weren't good. They got through. They got it done. How do you feel about Arsenal in the Europa League quarterfinals, Jarrett?
I never know how to feel about Arsenal in general because I don't know. Like, I'm never really sure what's going to happen with Arsenal. I want to be optimistic, but yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, he's right. You kind of look at that and go, hey, that's a win's a win. You don't apologize for a win, but you also recognize it needs to be better next time out, or it won't be a win.
Yeah.
The end.
Pretty much. They will be facing off with Slavia Prague, who will not make it easy for Arsenal. There are questions, though, about what will happen with the fallout of the match with Rangers. I have not heard video. It sounds like allegedly there is some video from the field of the incident with Kudela and Kamara, where Kudela was accused of racial abuse by Glenn Kamara. Rangers manager Steven Gerrard has urged UEFA, the club issued a statement to launch an investigation. That has happened, to take swift and decisive punishment against Kudela, the Slavia player. It's a mess. There's also reports that he was attacked and beaten in the tunnel. That's been questioned. I think there's been pictures of him leaving the hotel, and there hasn't really been any issue with that. So I don't know about that. The quote that Rangers players appeared to complain that Kamara had been called is an effing monkey. Yeah, racism needs to be punished by UEFA. No question. And they've got to be out in front of this thing. They have to be. And if you've got video of this, if you've got audio of this, we saw it with the PSG Başakşehir thing. There can be no hesitation on this from UEFA. It needs to be dealt with fast. You got video? You don't need a whole big investigation, do you? You don't. You can call these people up. You can talk to them today. You need to have something done fast. This can't linger at all. Slavia officials have defended Kudela. They've talked about him being attacked after the full-time whistle, which is a little ridiculous to start there. The player has denied any... Hold on. The player has denied any racist abuse, and he says that he told Kamara he was an effing guy. That is what Kudela is saying he said to Kamara. Slavia officials start with the, I guess, alleged fight in the tunnel after the game, and you talked about it, Jared. I don't think we knew what was going on exactly at the end of this game, but it was heated. It was heated before this incident. and it was heated all the way with the players leaving the field. Like, that was part of all of this. This is a very specific incident in those heated incidents.
It was very heated, and here's the thing about the perception that goes into this. When you have a guy who walks up to another player, cups his hands, and whispers something into his ear, and the guy who gets whispered to reacts the way he did, yeah, that's going to cause people to react and wonder what happened, what was said. If you don't want to create these situations, first off, don't do anything of the sort. But maybe also don't cup your damn hands around a guy's ear and even create the illusion, even if you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm curious. I'm going to be real curious if they actually have something from on the field they can use. But just the optics of it are just so dumb and unnecessary and pointless and disgusting, really. Because even if nothing was said, the optics of it are just awful. What the hell are you even doing?
Yep, 100%. I mean, it's what I don't want UEFA to do is let this hang around. Yeah. That's where I get incredibly frustrated with UEFA, FIFA, any governing body on these situations. You don't have fans in the stands, so you've got field mics. You've got the ability to pick this stuff up pretty well. If you do have that, well, then investigation over. If you don't, you've got players to interview. You've got officials to interview. I believe it was fairly close to, or at least you'll have what the referee was told afterwards, what the fourth official was told afterwards, maybe the AR. You've got a lot of people that you can interview about this. Get it done today. Don't wait. Don't let it go back and forth in the media. The accusations are out there. The quotes are out there. Solve it. Solve it. This isn't a case for Nancy Drew. This isn't a case for Scooby-Doo and the gang. Get it done now. Fix it. If there's a problem here, fix it. Punish the guy. If it is all made up or it's all a misunderstanding, resolve it. Do it and get it done. It doesn't sound like that, but get it done. UEFA, don't let this linger.
Yeah, I mean, Kamara turned to the center ref and he said, "Did you hear what he just said to me?" And so that
immediately,
should have been able to
immediately.
Yeah, immediately. So I think it was, "Can you believe what he just blanking said? Did you hear what he just said to me?" That's what Kamara said to center ref, and that was on camera. Now you need to come in from behind and get the nat sound, the crowd mics, and all the other sound that's associated with it, because it wasn't the primary sound that was coming through on the broadcast. So get to the broadcast tape, isolate that sound, see if you can pick it up, get it done, come up with a decision. Don't linger on it. It makes you look worse when you do linger on something like this, but you've also got to be authoritative and show that you're going to be serious about tackling something like this. You've got to get on this case immediately and examine it, come up with your decision, get it done, and move on.
Slavia Prague's issued a statement on this as well. It starts with, and these could absolutely be valid things that they are saying about their club. I don't want to be too cynical about that, but it starts with 3 paragraphs that are pretty basic: firm commitment to fight racism, xenophobia, all forms of hatred. We believe that all people must be free and equal with their rights and dignity. It's along those lines. Then it starts into what happened yesterday, and I'm gonna read. Let's see, 3, maybe 4 paragraphs here. Okay. This is from Slavia Prague's website. This is their official statement here. The second leg of the round of 16 of the Europa League between Slavia and Rangers was supposed to be a celebration of football as such. Our players faced excessively heavy-handed behavior instead. Rangers injured Slavia goalkeeper, and I'm going to butcher his name, Andres Kolar, with a reckless tackle, and other players were lucky not to be injured. Anyone who watched the game has surely formed their own opinion. That's their first statement about what happened yesterday. Andres Kudela is one of the team captains elected in secret polls by the players who choose characters that enjoy their trust. He is a decent and modest person with a strong moral integrity, popular amongst the players and fans, a football gentleman. He categorically denies and refutes any allegations of racism. We are shocked that his reputation and the club's reputation are being smeared without a single piece of evidence. The only alleged evidence is the player covering his mouth, which Andres does on a regular basis when he talks to his teammates during our games. Under the patronage and in the presence of the UEFA delegation, the coaches of both teams, Andres Kudela and Glenn Kamara, met. After the arrival of Slavia representatives, Andres was physically abused by the player of Rangers, who then fled into the locker rooms, followed by the manager, Steven Gerrard, without a single word of apology. The incident is thoroughly described in the match protocol, and Slavia will consider filing a criminal complaint after their return to the Czech Republic. The movement of Slavia players and management was unprecedentedly restricted after the game. The players and staff were protected by the Czech embassy in London and local police. We would like to express our gratitude for their professionalism. It was reported very heavily afterwards that they were being held in the stadium. They did not leave the stadium immediately after the game. I don't know exactly why, but Slavia Prague's statement follows up with that. We have felt a great respect to Rangers for their recent football performance and glorious history. However, we wish for a UEFA investigation into all incidents related to the recent match and will fully cooperate. That's a lot. That's a lot in a statement about accusations that were made one way. That's a lot of accusations the other way. This is going to get really interesting. And again, UEFA needs to resolve it as fast as possible.
So stupid.
It's incredibly stupid, but we don't know. I mean, again, if there's footage on mics of what was said, then okay, we've got an easy answer here. We don't know the rest of it, and the stuff that Slavia is throwing out there. We don't know. I know they were. I mean, according to reports yesterday, before it got to this stage, they were being kept in the stadium. That had been reported. I mean, UEFA's got to resolve it. You've got to get to the bottom of this now. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in that statement, and some of these things could have happened. But the first paragraph, and this is where my antenna go up, to talk about an incident on the field with the goalkeeper getting kicked in the face, which was a horrible incident, with absolutely zero intent to injure the goalkeeper. To bring that up first before denying that the player said anything racist is a little baffling to me. It's a little baffling because that's a soccer incident with a bad foul and a red card. Zero intent. Watch it. They say people who've watched the game have surely formed their opinions. Yes, and if you're around the game for any period of time and you watch you watch Roof looking at the ball, not looking at the goalkeeper, which is his mistake, and he goes up in a reckless manner and kicks him in the face, and it's a horrible injury. And he was red carded for it. There was no intent because why would there be? That's the thing is because it's alleged in there, it's implied at least that was a huge problem, and it showed how Rangers was trying to hurt people, I guess. No, it didn't. It showed an incident that got a red card. That's horrible. That statement's horrible. To go there first?
And a red card that Rangers literally couldn't afford because they were down a goal. I don't... Okay, whatever. The logic on it sucks.
Yeah, to start there is a big problem, and that makes me question a lot of other things.
Rangers managing director Stuart Robertson came out with a statement a little bit ago.
Okay.
Standard opening paragraphs, third paragraph. Several of our players have subsequently received racist, threatening, and sickening abuse online. This is abhorrent and once again highlights the responsibility social media outlets have in eradicating abuse from faceless cowards. We refuse to acknowledge any attempt to defend, deflect, or deny the abuse Glenn Kamara experienced last night. Our manager, Steven Gerrard, has already underlined his own disgust at this incident and support for our players. And we can confirm Steven, our chairman, sporting director, and I met last night to agree on our club stance. Also met with UEFA reps. Incident has been reported to the match delegate. And he says UEFA will be watching. Another couple of paragraphs follow. No further comment until they get a response from UEFA.
That was issued this morning. I think that was before Slavia's statement. I want to make sure that's understood because that came out early. Jarrett, yeah, you're going to have to talk about this.
In Scotland, today...
Sky Sports exclusive. Celtic will not give Rangers a guard of honor at Celtic Park on Sunday.
Jesus.
Yeah. John Kennedy confirms that Celtic will not give Rangers a guard of honor before Sunday's match.
I wish they would.
They should.
They have the precedent not to do it after Rangers didn't do it for them, but this is one of those, I think, where it's the right thing to do. Just do the right thing in this case. But, again, you've got a stupid precedent that the other team set a couple of years ago, and you're just going to fall through on it now, and nobody benefits from it, and everybody looks dumb. Congratulations. You all look dumb.
Rangers refused to give Celtic a guard of honor as league champions in May of 2019. Kennedy spoke exclusively to Sky Sports. It is something that we have discussed. It is a subject that has been brought up, and I have seen several people talking about it. It was the same 2 years ago when we were champions, and if I am being honest, I don't think such a fuss was being made about it. I don't see it as a big issue.
There were plenty of articles about it.
Yeah, that's completely inaccurate.
You can say whatever you want. There were plenty of articles about it at the time. There was plenty of discussion about it.
That's completely inaccurate.
It wasn't just kind of swept aside.
No. For us, we spoke collectively about it, and we won't do it. It is not about lacking class, nothing like that, because we are a club that always shows class and dignity and do what is right. But ultimately, this same group of players went in as champions and didn't get the respect that time, if you want to call it that. They are the same players who are being asked to stand there. We have decided collectively as a group, we will just get on with the game, park that, so we will focus fully on the game and just put that to bed.
Man, Alfredo Morelos is going to score a damn hat trick on y'all just on principle, which would be amazing because he's never scored against Celtic. The guy's got like more red cards than goals.
Yeah, he's
going to put a hat trick up just out of spite.
Is the old firm going to be up anywhere for folks to watch?
ESPN Plus has it, I believe.
Yeah, that's just stupid. I'm sorry. Like I know it happened before, but. What is it that I learned?
You got a chance to kind of get things back on even keel, and you're not going to do it.
Yeah. What is it that I learned in maybe second grade? 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yes.
This is wrong.
3 lefts do.
This is wrong, and it was wrong when Rangers did it. Be the bigger club and say, and throw them under the bus if you want to. Drop all the shade you want. But
I think you're entitled to drop even more shade if you do it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Certain clubs.
That's what I'm saying. They should come. Kennedy should have come out and said, unlike what happened to these same players 2 years ago, we will show class because we are a club of class, and we will give them a guard of honor as they deserve. We don't like it. We wanted to win the title. We think they should have done it for us 2 years ago. We're still angry about that, but we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do. That would earn you more points. That would be better. This is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
This is dumb. How many red cards in this game, Jarrett?
2.
I got 3.
I got 3. I got more reds than goals.
I don't know about that.
I think more goals.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's really, really stupid. There is a tweet out
Rangers
there.
Are mad too. They're going to want to come drop. They're going to want to come drop a bomb on Celtic.
Yeah, there is a tweet out there. I'm not going to play it because I can't confirm that it is actual proper audio and it hasn't been adjusted. What in the game with Slavia and Rangers yesterday, do you know when that happened? When the incident with Kamara happened? That's been asked by
It was after
Kessie.
the first red card, so it was in the second half, maybe halfway through the second half.
Okay. The reason I'm not going to play it, first, it's from a fan account, and it looks like possibly the video has been cut. Possibly. I might be wrong. It says you can clearly hear what happened. I'm not playing it because I don't know if you can trust that. But you can see the video of this, and you see the reactions, and you see how this all went down, and Slavia's thing about this player putting his hand over his mouth when he speaks to his teammates. Well, he's not speaking to his teammates. He walks right up to Kamara and says it. So, and then the reaction is immediate. It's bad whatever was said. If he said what has been alleged, then it's a huge problem. And again, UEFA have plenty of people standing right there who would have been involved in it. The referee is very, very close when the initial incident happens. The fourth official is very, very close. It needs to get dealt with ASAP by UEFA so it doesn't end up in a back and forth, as we've already seen the ridiculous comments from both sides. It's a problem. It's a problem. And just the fact that something was said that sparked that is a problem in and of itself. The rest of the statement from Slavia has some problematic things that are said that Rangers need to address. I mean, you don't want to see a fight in the tunnel. Like, why were those two even brought together after the game? That doesn't make any sense. It's all kinds of a mess. UEFA, fix it and resolve it so we can try to start eliminating this stuff. Sadly, we don't eliminate it if we sweep it under the rug. Okay. We have not talked about it yet, and we're going to finish with U.S. national team stuff. The U.S. U23's won yesterday 1-0 over Costa Rica. It wasn't pretty, and Jason Kreis said that as much, but it was effective, and the 3 points was critical to get out of this group because one of the U.S., Costa Rica, and Mexico is not getting out of the group and not going to the Olympics. You got to finish top 2 in the group, then go into the semifinal and win that to go to the Olympics. You get 3 points against Costa Rica, you're in a good spot. Jesus Ferreira scored the goal. Kreis said it wasn't great. It's an important result for us. I would say that we would have hoped to have gotten that result in a little bit better of a fashion. I think we would have hoped that we could have been better on the ball and made better decisions and maintained the tempo of the game better. It was disjointed. That's to be expected. It's 20 to 24-year-olds in this case, because it's technically a U24 team because of the Olympics being pushed back a year, that have never played together. You can train all you want, but yeah, Justin Glad and Pineda made some bad decisions playing out of the back. They were determined to play out of the back. They made some really bad decisions. David Ochoa, goalkeeper, outstanding. 9 saves, man of the match for me. You did see beforehand that Ulianes is out due to an ankle injury. Tanner Tessman comes in for him into the roster. It's a huge start. I'm actually really good with the fact that you didn't play your best game and you still got the 3 points you needed to. You saw it out. That shows a little bit of mental toughness that this age group for the U.S. has been lacking in previous qualifying situations. It was needed. They got it. They can get better from here.
Yeah, and the fact that, they hadn't played together and you're dealing with first time out there in a match that means something. You have the altitude and all of these other external factors that are in there. Ochoa was man of the match for me as well. But the fact that you can get through a grinder like this one, not have it be your best effort, still come out with a win and 3 points in a massive game where you really needed the 3 points to try to get out of group. There's a lot of things that you can build on from this. And so, take the 1-0 win over a tough Costa Rican side and get ready for the match on the weekend.
You have a chance to get better on the weekend. You play the Dominican Republic, who battled with Mexico. I mean, they made Mexico work, but they're at a different level. It's a big drop off in talent, even compared to the Costa Rican side. So you have a chance to get better in that one. Then you play Mexico. You should be on 6 points. You should, especially if Mexico beats Costa Rica. Well, if Mexico beats Costa Rica and you win the game you should, then you're through. The Mexico game is a tune-up for the game that matters. Keep that in mind. You qualify by winning the semifinal. If you lose to Mexico, you lose to Mexico. It doesn't matter if you win your first 2 on 6 points and Costa Rica loses to Mexico on the weekend, as the bookmakers would probably slot in as favorites and underdogs. If that happens and Mexico's on 6 and you're on 6 going into that last day, you're through. You're good. You got to prepare. And if that means you got to rest players, if that means you've got to have anybody that is critical on yellow card accumulation watch, you got to sit them, you got to sit them. You got to get ready to win the semifinal at that point, because that's what gets you through. The Mexico game, hopefully, won't be meaningful. The final really won't be meaningful. The semifinal will be everything. Take care of business on Sunday against the Dominican Republic. You should be fine. Root for Mexico to beat Costa Rica. You're good. You're good. You're into the semifinal. Then it is a one-game playoff to go to the Olympics. On the full senior national team side, the U.S. will play a friendly against Switzerland on May 30th, and it will be in Switzerland. This is ahead of the June 3rd CONCACAF Nations League semifinal against Honduras, which will be in the United States somewhere. The winner of that will play either Mexico or Costa Rica, the other semifinal in CONCACAF Nations League on June 6th. Another friendly is possible for June 9th. That will be the final time that the senior team is together until qualifying in September. I don't think the full senior team will be the team that plays in the Gold Cup this summer. Guys will get a break. Guys who need a break will get one. Christian Pulisic, probably one of those. Guys who played a lot of games in Europe will get those breaks. This is big in that you're going to get a game before that game with Honduras. And, I mean, I think it shows you that the majority of this team is going to come from Europe. Then they're going to come to the United States to get ready for that game. You will see some MLS players that factor into it, but May 30th against Switzerland, friendly. June 3rd, CONCACAF Nations League semi. Hopefully, June 6th, final, and then another friendly for June 9th. That's your tune-up at the top level for the national team to get ready for World Cup qualifying that starts in September. Jarrett, how you feeling about the national team with that summer schedule getting ready for World Cup qualifying?
Cautiously optimistic. Getting through this game while playing not perfect, like you said, I mean, that's about how I feel about it. You didn't play perfectly. You got through. That's okay. That's going to be all right. As far as the rest of it goes, right now I am in the mode of you win the games you're supposed to win now and you get to the Olympics and you make all of this count for the first time in 12 years? For the Olympics? What are we at? About that?
Yeah.
So you win the games you're supposed to win and you make all this count, then you go do the damn job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to see.
Well, that's the U23's. Then you get to the senior team this summer. I mean, how do you feel going into World Cup qualifying this fall with the full senior team?
I feel optimistic on that as well. I mean, I think things are in a much better place than they were, even a year ago. I'm much more confident than I was then. I'm still not 100% sold on Greg, but I'm sold enough that you should be able to get through because, at the risk of sounding arrogant, it's the U.S. national team. You shouldn't have to be perfect to get out of this. You should be, even at your not best, you're good enough to beat most of the teams in CONCACAF. If you're not, it can be those teams on the come up, and a lot of them are. That's cool. That's great. I want to see more of that. Even at your not best, you should still be able to hold serve and get to the Olympics. It's inexcusable that you weren't last time.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely the truth. A lot of things to kind of finish up with as we bounce around. We've got a little bit of clarification when it comes to what happened with Oli and with Pioli. Carlo Garganese tweeted this out about an hour ago. There have been some media reports, and this was in Italy, that Pioli insulted Oli's sister after being told good game. This isn't true. The words tua sorella, which Pioli said to Kieran McKenna, not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, are not literal. Pioli was basically sniping, like, good game, do one, or good game, do me a favor. Like, it's kind of just snippy. As Nick Alifi shares to us, like, some stuff doesn't translate literally. There's things that a native speaker knows that would insult a beginner because you don't have the context or the origin or the regional aspect of it. So there was a misunderstanding. Pioli did not start popping off at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of nowhere, which wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. But it was reported in the Italian media as such, and now you have Italians saying, not so fast. So there you go. And yes, you can put Oli and Pioli as a new CBS morning show, J-Dub. I like that idea too. Okay, this is a funny headline from the Daily Mirror after the Champions League draw today. Mohamed Salah isn't going to get close, in quotes, to Sergio Ramos when Liverpool take on Real Madrid. How's he going to avoid that? Craziness. Roberto Carlos has spoken out, and he's the one who said that. He joked Salah isn't going to get close to his Spanish rival after what happened last time out. Oh, that's going to be a fun talking point. Via Marca. Salah isn't even going to get close to Sergio. It will be an action that will be talked about a lot. Yeah, it will be. If he doesn't get close to him, it will absolutely be talked about a lot. That's going to be a subplot there for sure. I honestly didn't even think about that initially. I was just thinking about the matchup with those two teams. I wasn't even going to get into that, but okay. Mo Salah and Sergio Ramos. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Marcelo is hinting in the media that he could be reunited with Cristiano soon. I don't think that'll be at Madrid because I don't think Marcelo's going to be at Madrid a whole lot longer. Maybe Marcelo's going to Juventus, or they're both going to PSG, or they're both going to Miami. I don't know.
Well, Cristiano in Miami.
I don't know. That's an odd one. You've got headlines in England saying that Harry Kane has to leave Tottenham for the sake of his career. He can't afford to snub Manchester United. Jarrett, what would you say if Harry Kane left Tottenham and went to Manchester United?
I would say good job, Manchester United, for getting a really good striker.
Instead of Erling Haaland, if you can pick?
Ooh,
if I can pick, I'm taking Erling Haaland. I mean, how much money are we willing to spend? Because how much are we willing to get into the bidding war? Because we've talked about this for a few weeks now, that when you get past Haaland and you get past Mbappe and you get into the second wave of guys who might be up, you can find really good players there still without paying 150 million euro.
Yep.
Manchester United could be rumored now. I know there's been some cold water thrown on Ronaldo going to Manchester United, going back there, but you could have your pick in some way from Haaland, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Harry Kane if you're Manchester United for next season.
Haaland.
Well, he's 20, of course, but the dollar figures are going to be different, and the competition levels are going to be different. If I get Harry Kane for half of what I would pay Erling Haaland or to get him, I would do it.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be half because English players are valued higher in England, so I don't know what even the number would be on Harry Kane.
Well, okay, so let's just say 75. If you got Kane for 75, if Haaland is allegedly 150.
That's what I just said.
Kane's,
yes. Then I would go get Kane and go spend $75 million on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Manchester United is trying to win tomorrow, and Harry Kane can do that for you.
Yeah.
I would 100% do that. No question. I would spend, if I am, now it'd be Darren Fletcher hopefully making this decision and not Ed Woodward. If I have 150 to spend, and that's my option, all of it on Haaland or 75 on Kane, and then maybe 50 on a center back, and then 25 more on something else that'll help my team get better in the coming years with a young talent, that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. If you're Manchester United and you could go and do, I'm trying to remember who I think Simicon would be one that could be out there as a center back. If I could get him, Kane, and sure, I'll go down and throw a fat check at Independiente and take Alan Velasco.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if I get those three for what I would pay to get Erling Haaland, I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I don't think you're going to get him for 75, though. I think you'd have to get more from that for Kane.
He'll be north of 75.
You know what else I'm going to go do? I'm going to go hit up Moises Caicedo on loan.
Yeah, you're not going to get that because Brighton's not that stupid.
They're
not going to loan him to Manchester United, Jared. That's not going to happen. Brighton would play him before they'd loan him to Manchester United. That's not happening.
He's going to be saying, I want to go play
Caicedo
games.
Relax.
I want to go
Let's
play
not.
Premier League games.
Yes, I do too, but let's not blow this up like Moises Caicedo is going to be the best player in the Premier League next year. Slow down a little bit.
No, but I would
He needs
happy
to
to
play.
go get it. I would be happy to go get him and have him on my team.
I would
especially
too.
if I don't have to pay for him on the transfer. Although, Man U probably should have done it in the first place. But that's neither here nor there.
They absolutely
Great job,
should have.
Man U.
They 100% should have done it, and if it would have cost them an extra $1 million, they should have done it. They 100% should have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Aside from that, I have hesitation about taking one Cristiano Ronaldo in the year of our Lord 2021 into 2022 and whatever the hell
Last
that's
choice.
going to cost.
Absolute
But that,
last
again,
choice.
is just me.
It wouldn't cost much. I think Juventus would probably let him walk or take a small amount of money for him if that's what you get. If you don't get either one, I think that's what you're getting into. Okay. Let's look at what we have this weekend. Obviously, there's going to be no SDH Smorgasbord tomorrow morning. That's not happening because I will be busy with a joint training session between Atlanta and Charleston. But today on the board, Fulham and Leeds at 4 o'clock is a very, very interesting match. What are the numbers on Fulham and Leeds, since this was your pick of the week, John, for our picks from Monday?
It was. And right now, Fulham is a plus 144. And remember, this is a composite courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Your draw is a plus 236. Leeds is a plus 204.
What did everybody pick on this?
We have you and I had draws. Nick had Leeds. Jared had Fulham.
Everybody's all over the board here. I still feel like it'll be a draw.
This was a good week for being all over the board.
Yeah, it was.
Really was a great week.
The picks were very diverse. The other interesting game today, because of the implications, is RB Leipzig at Arminia Bielefeld in the Bundesliga. Bielefeld is outside of the relegation scrap right now. They're 1 point clear of Hertha and Mainz. RB Leipzig would pull to within a point of the top of the table with Bayern playing on the weekend. Should be a win for RB Leipzig, but it is on the road, so it's not a guarantee. And Bielefeld got that draw against Bayern. They got a win on the weekend. They are trying to stay up, and they will be battling here, but I think RB Leipzig gets it done.
Bielefeld is north of plus 800 for the win, just north of plus 400 for the draw.
Down in South America, you have the Copa de la Liga back in Argentina. You've got our friend Burgos making his debut with Newell's hosting Unión de Santa Fe. And you've got Central Córdoba hosting Estudiantes. Newell's is at 6 o'clock, and Central Córdoba Estudiantes is at 8:15. You've got action in Mexico as well, Necaxa and Juarez, and Mazatlan and Club America. Club America's got to be a pretty big favorite there, right?
Plus 131. Mazatlan's a plus 225, and your draw is a plus 212.
No, I'm taking Club America, even still. I don't trust the Kraken at all.
No.
At all. Saturday's games to keep an eye on. Brighton and Newcastle. Sorry, Alex. Newcastle in the biggest game they could possibly have, and guess who might be back? Miguel Almiron could be back, according to reports this morning. He's recovered quicker than expected. Has a chance. He trained for the first time yesterday. No Wilson, no St. Maximin. What are the numbers in this one?
Newcastle's a plus 548. Your draw is a plus 259, and Brighton a minus 152.
Wow.
I know. I can't remember the last time Brighton was a minus 150.
That's really trying to tease somebody into throwing juice boxes at Newcastle. Really trying to do that. I can't do it.
Nope. Sorry, Alex.
I cannot do it. But, man, that's really trying hard. Real Madrid goes to Celta Vigo in Spain. Mentioned Bayern Munich. They host Stuttgart, and this is a 10:30 kick on ESPN+. That will be a fun one. Stuttgart will be a difficult one for Bayern. They should get it done, but Stuttgart will make it difficult. That's a big game. Schalke and Mönchengladbach was our pick of the week because it's a very tricky one with Mönchengladbach losing and losing and losing and losing and losing and losing to the point that you wonder if they want their manager to stick around. Oh, wait, he's already leaving for Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season. It looks like they quit on him.
Yep. Mönchengladbach a minus 217. Schalke a plus 609. Stuttgart is a plus 936. Bayern Munich a minus 417.
Inter and Sassuolo this weekend ain't happening in Serie A. Inter has issues with the coronavirus. Their schedule is going to get a little interesting later in the season now because of this. Does potentially open up some doors when it comes to Italy, although they are 9 points clear. That schedule can only get so crowded. They don't have anything left in Europe, so Milan's got to almost be perfect down the stretch to put the pressure on Inter. But this will make it a little more difficult for Inter with games piling up. We'll see how long of a delay they have getting back onto the pitch. In Argentina and Copa de la Liga on Saturday, we've got Banfield and Lanús at 3:15. That is actually a really good one. Vélez and Independiente, which we've mentioned a few times, that's at 5:30. Godoy Cruz hosting River at 8 o'clock. Alajuelense, with a lot of players absent, hosts Santos in Costa Rica at 9 o'clock. I believe that might actually possibly be on Centro America TV, or it might not, or it might get replaced by a telenovela from El Salvador.
Or at
who knows?
Or at midnight, and they'll say it's live.
Yes, any of those things are possible. Independiente del Valle in Ecuador hosts Delfín at 4:30, and I think we will have not a normal Gambetta, but I think we're going to do a Saturday night version. And the feature match will be Liga de Quito and Barcelona from Ecuador. So stay tuned. That might happen. That is not a guarantee as of yet. Peñarol is hosting Plaza Colonia in Uruguay on Saturday night as well. Sunday games to keep an eye on. Leicester and Manchester United. When is that coming up? That's not Sunday. Is that Monday? Come back to that. Sorry.
Or is that FA?
I'll come back to that. Oh, it might be. It might be. I forgot about that. That might throw me off. Yes, it is. It's FA Cup. It's not Premier League. Chelsea plays Sheffield United on Sunday in FA Cup. Thank you. Premier League on Sunday, Aston Villa and Tottenham. We'll see if Spurs are still an embarrassment. West Ham hosting Arsenal is an intriguing one at 11 o'clock. Barcelona goes to Real Sociedad at 4 o'clock in La Liga. They are trying to put the pressure on Atleti, who hosts Alaves at 1:30. In Italy, Juventus hosts Benevento at 10 o'clock. Fiorentina hosts Milan. Roma and Napoli is an intriguing one at 3:45 in Serie A on Sunday. In South America on Sunday, Boca Juniors host Talleres at 8 o'clock. Colón and Pulga, they host Rosario Central at 3:15 on Sunday afternoon. I will 100% be watching that after Sarmiento.
Does he make the center ref?
He hasn't lately. He's not doing that anymore. He knows that was a gimmick, and he's letting it lie for now. Sarmiento hosts Defensa at 1 o'clock. And in Colombia, you've got two heavyweights playing at 9 o'clock, Millonarios and Atlético Nacional. That should be available on Fanatis. For all the South American stuff, for BN, for Goal TV, fntz.co/soccer down here. That's our affiliate page. Please sign up for a free trial, subscribe. It helps the show. Thanks to everybody who has re-upped their subscriptions on Twitch. Thanks to everybody who is part of our Patreon. All of that stuff helps us keep going and growing and doing what we're doing. We've got a live show coming next Thursday from the Lost Druid in Avondale Estates. You can watch it on Twitch. You could also try to get there early and get in. It will be a very small crowd. It's a much smaller venue than we were at last time around at Wild Heaven. But I'm excited to sample Lost Druid. I've never been, so looking forward to it. A lot of people have told me that we picked a good one here, so I'm looking forward to it. That's next Thursday, 6 o'clock live show. We'll have plenty to talk about for that one. We also have our scarves available. If you follow us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, you can see the scarf. You can see the instructions. Send us a message. We'll get you taken care of. They're $25. They are $5 for shipping, and that will also help us grow. And they are being produced right now. So if you want to get one, there's still a few available, not a ton. So you might want to get on that if you want to make sure you get one of these. What do we have on Twitter to finish up, John?
A couple of things. John Nason asks if there's any CONCACAF Champions League home leg ticket news that you've heard of.
I have not heard anything on that. Jarrett Kennesaw has had no problems with people in the building for football yet?
To my knowledge, they have not.
Okay. So I would assume there would be some tickets, but I don't know what, and I don't know how that will go at all.
Yeah, I know they've been doing games with very, very limited capacity. So.
Also on the board, Swickster asks, he thought transfer fees were independent of TAM and GAM. Is that not correct?
I don't understand. Transfer fees don't necessarily have anything to do with TAM and GAM.
Okay.
Swickster, shoot me a message because I'm confused on that. I'll figure it out and we'll get it sorted out. The fee's not paid with TAM and GAM because, I mean, Independiente's probably dealing with funny money, but not that kind of funny money. I think any question about TAM or GAM coming up would be on the other side of it with the cap hit for Franco. And if you pay more to get him, then you're going to need more potentially allocation money to buy his contract down to make it fit under the cap. I think that's where that conversation has come up, and that part would be accurate because that's about the cap. The actual transfer fee being paid, no, it has nothing to do with allocation money.
I'm going to retweet Will's story that he told about being in Argentina and his experience with a cab driver, where the cab driver basically pulled an Independiente. And so I'm going to retweet that into the timeline. And let's see. Also, Tafka says, these coming matches will show how the depth drops off for other clubs. I think our 20 is deeper than the others.
The other, our 20, what? Give me a little bit of context, por favor.
Yeah, Tafka, we need a modifier.
Okay, we don't have time. Okay, we don't have time. I will guess then. So for the U.S., yes, absolutely. In the U23's, the depth is greater than it would be for Costa Rica or the Dominican Republic. There was a lot of talk about Costa Rica's roster coming into this. I don't know where that was necessarily coming from. The Costa Rican League is beyond Alajuelense and Saprissa and sometimes Herediano and maybe every once in a while like a San Carlos. It's not very strong. I mean, you had 5 guys from Alajuelense in this lineup yesterday. They didn't blow the doors off of anything. They're good players. Costa Rica is good. If you don't play well, you're going to struggle. But if you play well, you should be able to handle that. I don't know where that was necessarily coming from. Ugalde up top is very good, and he got the move to Europe from Saprissa, but he's still young. And Montenegro, who came off the bench, is very young, and he's at Alajuelense. So don't jump to conclusions at times. The U.S. should not be in a position where they're facing Costa Rica's U23's and be worried about the talent comparison. That shouldn't be the case. I don't think it is the case. And it shouldn't ever be the case. And I don't think it is the real case here. That needs to be understood. You have more talent, and you definitely have more depth. There's no question about that. And when you compare to like a Dominican Republic on Sunday, they've got some players that are starting to break through at the top level. They're best. You get beyond that, and it's a struggle for them. They surprised me in how effective they were against Mexico. I thought that game could get really out of hand. They're going to struggle in game 2 to keep up. That's going to be a challenge. Maybe that's what is being referred to here.
And then Tafka follows it up. He says, I can't deal with these USMNT crazies blaming Atlanta for the center back struggles, but giving no blame to any other club worldwide.
That is 100% correct, and it's really obnoxious, and I don't know why that narrative is out there, because there are other clubs that did not send their U24 eligible players to play here. And maybe you didn't even ask. Because you knew. Atlanta should not be treated differently than any other club in the world. They're preparing for CONCACAF. They have a new manager. And the 3 players that were requested would be 3 of the 4 starting players on the back line. And as you see, you are trying to add another center back. You want your back line together for preseason. If you don't have it together, you're going to struggle early in the season. Them's facts, yo. And when you do that, and you wouldn't get those players back until maybe a day or two before your first competitive match, which is a CONCACAF Champions League game, which should matter. And we go through this all the time about MLS teams needing to take these games seriously. Well, when you take it seriously, yes, you're not able to send players to a qualifying youth tournament because it is a youth tournament, and that's what happens. Nobody else has been talked about in this way. It's ridiculous. So, no, that's absurd, and that narrative needs to stop. And people want to continue it, then they're creating a narrative, and they are probably being disingenuous, since that seems to be the word of the day.
And we are caught up on Twitter.
All right. Ricky Ricardo was asking about the U.S. stuff that we talked about a little bit ago, U.S.-Switzerland before Nations League. I love that they got that game in there. I love that it's going to prepare them for Nations League. Those are big games against Honduras and hopefully Mexico in a final. Huge measuring stick. Huge measuring stick to get ready for qualification and the octagonal starting in the fall. The U.S. should handle the Dominican Republic, Ricky. It's you've got to perform at a certain level to win this game, but you should be able to do that even if you have a bad day. And they weren't great against Costa Rica. They were good enough to win. They weren't great. They get it done. You got a good goalkeeper that's going to help you in these moments right now. Ochoa is excellent. Ochoa should be the starter for RSL for me, no question. He should have been last year. That's going to bail you out in some of these situations. You've got to be better. I think with a game under their belt, they will be. I think it'll look better on Sunday. Get it done. Hopefully Mexico beats Costa Rica so you don't have to sweat about a result against Mexico, and then you can prepare for the semifinal. That's the job here. It's not about style points. It's about qualifying one way or another. Will says, I know you've talked about Walks being ahead of Campbell because of experience, but do you think that with the new manager that evens out since they're both new to the system? I mean, to a degree, but Walks is he's going to have more composure in these moments. He's going to have, more experience as a player in moments, I mean, he played in CONCACAF Champions League last year. He played against Motagua. That's going to help him. Campbell hasn't. Campbell has very limited experience at the first team level. It's going to be more of a challenge. I mean, hindsight's going to give them both a shot, but dealing with pressure, Walks has more time doing it. So it's not to say, for me, and I don't know how you feel about it, Jarrett, it's not to say that Campbell can't beat Walks out for the start if it's down to those two. He absolutely can, but I would give the nod to Walks going into the competition because of the experience.
Yeah, I would give it to him as well, just for the experience, for what he's already got. He's actually seen the live game at that speed in CONCACAF, which is its own animal. And that isn't to say anything bad about Campbell. I think Campbell's ceiling is higher. Campbell's ceiling is absurdly high, but it would be tough to ask him, hey, here's your first start of the season. We're going to go to Aloense. And good luck. Good luck to going to Central America, which more often than not is where we send MLS teams to get really beaten up on. So I would be just fine seeing Walks in this position instead of Campbell, and then you work Campbell in because I don't doubt Campbell's ability.
Okay, and yeah, I'm with you. We saw it. Look, in 2019. Bello got the start at Herediano, so I mean, we've seen it here at the club, and that was a new manager. So I mean, if Campbell plays well in preseason, he can get it, and he's raw, but he can get it. If I'm doing a depth chart today, I'm putting Walks ahead. That's my opinion. I'm not seeing the training sessions, so I mean, that's just me looking at it from the outside. Trust me, I'm never gonna tell y'all that I know all these things, and this player's impressing in preseason, and he's doing really well, and he's impressing the manager. I don't know that. Nobody knows that until Gabriel Heinze tells you this guy's having a good preseason. This guy's not. This guy's doing well. This guy's moved down on the depth chart. Until he says it, it's all speculation. And we've all got opinions. But understand kind of where they're coming from right now. Right now, you're not seeing much of anything, and that is by design. That is 100% by design, and I am 100% fine with it because it is about winning. And if you go into Alawalense and they don't know anything about how you're going to play, and you know how they're going to play because you can watch their games, and you've probably got the signals to make sure you get these games that aren't on Central America TV and getting preempted by telenovelas about boxers from El Salvador, you're going to be okay. You're going to be in a good place there, and you want to take every competitive advantage you can get because it's about winning. Swick, thank you for the message. So now I understand. Someone had asked a question about the $2.8 million for Franco that I think probably more technically you'd call it 3 because of the $200,000 figure that would be for playing 15 games. So that would be easily attainable. I think there's another $100,000 that would be tied to being an all-star or something, but that's kind of a guessing game. So let's say 3 because you'd expect him to play 15 games. Swick said someone had asked the question about that offer for Franco and if we couldn't go higher due to Tam or Gam. So I think what they were asking would have been then about the cap hit on the other side of it because the acquisition fee affects the cap hit would be my guess from somebody else's question. And we don't know. We don't know what the limitation is. You know, they have acquired a lot of players. We don't know how much room they have on the cap. You know, this isn't like the NFL where when Matt Ryan's contract gets restructured, we pretty much immediately know, not down to the exact $1 figure, but really close of what that meant, how much room they had. We don't know that with MLS at all. I mean, it's a total guessing game because we don't even know how much allocation money is available for team by team, let alone like what players are signed to because contract salary figures weren't released last year. So we don't know. They are going to run out at some point of cap space, but we don't know if going up to $3.5 million or $4 million in an offer rather than stretching it out over time, we don't know if that would put them over it. So there's no way to know that. It's a guessing game when it comes to the MLS salary cap. Okay, other stuff. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, it's not knowing where MLS salaries are and a cap and all this kind of stuff. It is a guessing game. I was agreeing with you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're correct.
Don't do that. Will says, do you think we see Wiley this year at any point? Maybe he makes a cameo if Bellows on national team duty and we have a busy week. You can't, Will, because he's not signed to a contract yet. He is an academy player, so he can't play MLS games. He would have to be signed to an MLS deal to play MLS games. It's one of the situations that's unique to the United States because guys keep their college eligibility. Academy players don't sign deals until they want to give up their college eligibility because they can play Atlanta United 2. They can play USL on an academy contract, on an amateur contract essentially, and keep their eligibility. They can't sign an MLS deal to play in MLS games because you can't play on an academy deal in MLS. So Wiley can't do that. Until they sign him to a homegrown deal, they can't do that. Even if he signed an Atlanta United 2 deal directly, as Jackson Conway did, you can't just call him up to the first team to play games. He would have to be on an MLS deal. It's just one of the things. Frank de Boer talked about it. He wanted to be able to bring guys up from Atlanta United 2. He would have loved to have been able to do that at times. He had some injuries where he probably needed to at times, but you couldn't do it. Wiley is even more complicated than bringing up like Jack Gurr or Philip Goodrum or Jackson Conway last year. Now, Conway you were able to do for CONCACAF because you could do that for CONCACAF for Open Cup games for friendlies. You could call guys up on a short term if they were signed to your USL team. But you still wouldn't be able to bring Wiley up for that because he is not signed to them. He is an amateur player right now. I know it's super confusing. I might have made it more confusing. I hope I didn't. But yeah, you can't see Wiley play for Atlanta United this season in Major League Soccer until he signs a homegrown contract. And he's 16, so I don't know if you have to rush it. Martha says, it'll be walks out of the gate. Excited to see Campbell out there, though, like the little bit we saw last year. And then Martha asked, y'all don't have Bielsa spies feeding y'all training insight? Nope. We don't have drones. We don't have people peeking through the fence. We don't have that. We're not that cool yet. We're okay with it. Jarrett might be trying to. I don't know. I don't think he is, though.
Nah. I mean, I would love to try, but I don't own a drone, and you don't want me to own a drone.
No, you'd
I
crash into something.
would break things.
You would hit somebody. KFC said, "Yeah,
that would result in an international incident."
Yes, we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. KFC says, "Yeah, are you true BLCistas? If you don't, we are, or at least I am. I don't know if these guys are, but I don't even know if I'd say I'm a true BLCista. Like I am probably a more pragmatic Bielsa follower. I'm closer to Pep in the way that he sees the game in that. But Pep was heavily influenced by Bielsa, and all of them were heavily influenced by the Dutch system and Rinus Michels and Barcelona in those days. And it all feeds on itself, and everybody puts their own spin on it. So I just like teams that are based around having the ball and playing positive soccer. That's what I like. I don't want teams that play negatively. Will says, what was the situation with Bello in September of 2018 when he scored against New England Revs? He was on a homegrown deal. He was a homegrown player at that point. So Wiley hasn't done that yet. So that's why it's a different situation. Alex Basine says, going to have to go back and listen to this last hour. I am forever grateful for the job that keeps me away from the Twitch pitch at times. We didn't talk about it very long, Alex.
Sorry, Alex.
It was short. It was short. We didn't talk about it long. We were very excited that Miguel Almiron could be back. We were excited about that for you. I still don't think they win. But that number's teasing you. That number that's out there on the juice boxes, it's really teasing you to put something on the Magpies. It really is.
That number was designed specifically for people like Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Alex throws juice boxes around. I wouldn't.
Not to say he does, but people like him.
Yes.
Yeah, some hardcore fans will. Absolutely.
Yeah, those who are emotionally invested on the hardcore scale would sit there and look at that number and go, "Ooh," as an opportunity.
All right, we went over the 3-hour barrier. You folks happy? You animals happy now? We did it. Didn't even do it by accident. We really officially completely did it this time, and it was totally intentional because we had a ton of things to talk about. So much so that we will make sure we didn't miss anything in MLS around the league. You've got Luciano Acosta and Brenner talking in Cincinnati now that the Acosta deal is done. I still think Cincinnati will be better than maybe others think. Jarrett, how do you feel about Cincinnati?
Excited.
I do too.
Year 3.
It's weird.
What?
I do too. It's weird. I don't know how I should feel excited about Cincinnati, but I actually do.
Well, you don't want to see a team just completely and totally, every single time you see them, just be so negative and a painful watch. And if you want the league to succeed on the whole, you don't want to see situations like that. But they're investing. They're investing in players. And, Jarrett, they're investing in a stadium, so there's reason there.
Yeah, fancy new stadium with all the fancy new lights. It's very pretty. It's very shiny. You got young players. It should actually be a lot of fun in Cincinnati. So hopefully it is, because if it's not, we start asking more questions because now we're in year 3. And if you get the wooden spoon in year 3 of 3, 3 years out of 3, this is about when we saw Minnesota take their turn. Cincinnati, you're up.
We'll see if they can pull it off. Alexandre Pato scored for Orlando in a preseason match yesterday, but New York City won it. And it was a preseason match. It was not a joint training session. Pato got the goal. He's very happy. Let's go team, he says. Yeah, it's very different. 3-2 for New York City in a closed-door scrimmage. So it was a scrimmage. It wasn't a preseason match. Okay. But maybe it was a match, maybe it was a friendly, but they called it scrimmage in the article. I don't know. I'm confused. I know that Atlanta United and Chelsea is a joint training session, though. I do know that.
Chelsea?
We're playing Chelsea tomorrow, totally. Charleston Battery.
There you go. Sweet.
Totally playing Chelsea tomorrow. I'm just excited because Chelsea's going to win the Champions League now, and you guys keep saying they're not, and I think they are. That's all.
Well, I can't change my pick all the way through. I mean,
you could
just
actually.
Because I mean, I've said Manchester City the whole time. And how would that make me look if I sit there and, the draw's out, I'm going to change my mind now? I've got to stick to my guns, don't I?
No, you
You
could
don't have to
actually
be like
explain
me.
it and say, yes, I think Manchester City is the best team, but they have a really difficult road and they might fall here at some point. I think Chelsea has an easier road, and I think Chelsea could get to the final. And Chelsea 1-on-1 with Manchester City, you can take your pick. If you think Manchester City gets to the final, you can actually explain things. It's okay. Things change.
You don't have
John.
to be like me and die on a hill like San Jose.
You don't ever want to be that. Don't do that. Don't be
No.
Jarrett.
No, but I
That's
agree.
great
But
advice.
It is. I'm going to make a T-shirt. Don't be Jarrett.
there you go. Add that to the Teespring store. But no, I agree. I agree with you, Jason, about picking Chelsea because their road is easier. But
I think they're playing really well. I think they're playing as well as anybody. If you
9
wins
wins in 13.
If you think Manchester City's going to win, then pick them. Don't say, I can't not pick them because I said they were going to win a month ago or 2 months ago. That's not actually picking them. Do you think today that Manchester City is going to win the Champions League at the end of the competition?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's all you have to say. Then there's nothing else needed.
Although I do agree with your Chelsea logic in your Chelsea selection. I do see where you're coming from. That's
You
all I was
can't.
getting at.
No, you can't. I am picking Chelsea to win the Champions League. I'm not just saying they're going to get to the final. I'm not just saying they have an easy road. I'm saying they're going to win the Champions League. And it pains me a little bit to say that, but I'm saying it. So you can't agree with me on that because you're saying Manchester City wins it.
Well, I see. What I'm saying is, I see your logic in your selection. I see where you're coming from.
But you think Manchester City beats Chelsea in the final.
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's what we were trying to get to. Thank you. There we go. Andrew Wiebe picked 5 players set for breakout double-digit scoring seasons in 2021. I am going to ask you to say yes or no. John, Ayo Akinola.
Yes.
Jarrett, Ayo Akinola.
No.
I don't think so either. I'm going no.
Well, I don't think that Josie's going to be at 100%, and I think that Akinola gets those numbers.
I'm going no. And this is double-digit goals. This is not including assists. Anthony Fontana, Philadelphia Union. Jarrett.
No.
John.
No.
I'm going no as well. I think if you combine goals and assists, he will be a good bit over 10. Is he saying both of these combined, or is he saying one or the other? LAFC, okay, one of them. Danny Musovski or Corey Baird? Jarrett.
Oh, God.
Double-digit goals.
Yes. Moose.
Wow. Okay. John.
Yes, Baird.
Wow. I'm going to be negative about all of them. Say no. I don't think either one of them get it. I don't think they'll
I'm
necessarily
having
be
to
bad.
stretch myself to get Musovski, but I think it's going to be a situation of he's going to get goals because he is the fourth man. He's the fourth option and will get opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them will get it, but I think Baird will actually be a really good fit for them in that role. I think he'll facilitate for others. Cole Bassett or Jonathan Lewis from Colorado, John?
No.
Jarrett?
Yes. Jonathan Lewis hype train. Let's ride it.
I'm on the Cole Bassett hype train. I'm going to say yes on Bassett. Juan Agudelo, Minnesota. Jarrett?
No. Minnesota will never find a striker. In
John?
the same way that Minnesota Vikings will never find a kicker ever since Gary Anderson.
Sorry, Minnesota.
I'm not sorry, Minnesota.
No.
I'm not.
I mean, what? Agadello's highest output has been 8, so I'll go no.
I'm going to go yes because I think Bebelo Reynoso will put it on a platter for him over and over and over and over and over again, and he'll get to 10 because he'll have to. If he doesn't, somebody else will. Somebody else will do it instead. And it's got to be him. Right now, it's him. It's going to be him over Foster Langsdorff, and I totally agree with Wiebe's logic on that one. If it doesn't end up looking like it's going to be him, then it's going to be somebody else in the summer window. Agadello's got to. With Reynoso feeding him, he's got to. He's just got to. Okay, Colonel on the Twitch pitch reminds us that it is the opening week of the League of Ireland Premier Division this weekend. And it is a South Wales derby this weekend.
It is.
Are you excited or are you negative about this team again? Your Swansea boys that you seem to not really like so much at times.
Well, considering that they laid an egg against Bournemouth midweek, You get the win over Luton Town last weekend, then you lay an absolute egg against Bournemouth. But right now, match in hand, 3 points out of the automatic promotion spot. It's a derby. Cardiff is in 9th. I think that Swansea gets the Duke and gets full points.
Wow, you're actually positive about Swansea. That's crazy. I'm blown away.
Hey, it's a derby against Cardiff. Them's fighting words. So you got to go with Swansea in this case. And you can hear from Matt Grimes and Steve Cooper about the week that was and the juice boxes for the entire championship on Normandy Road, which is on the network.
Excellent. It's Brett hanging out in the Twitch pitch. Let us know, Brett, what you've got coming up this weekend. I know you're doing some watch-alongs. Let everyone know what games you have chosen, por favor. Hopefully some of our SDH folks will head your way for the weekend. Mr. Fantastic, I'm totally with you. The videos last night of Cincinnati's stadium, the West End Stadium, were very, very cool with the video light show and all of that. I can't wait to see that place with fans in the stands and loud. I am looking forward to that in a big way. Brett chimes in with his opinion on City and Chelsea, says they're favorites in their respective games, but being favorites doesn't mean unless you produce it on the pitch. I think Chelsea has. I think City has. So, I mean, it's not even just the fact that they're favorites. I think they've produced. I think like PSG, for example, is one that has been inconsistently producing. Real Madrid has been inconsistently producing. Liverpool has been inconsistently producing. City and Chelsea have lived up to it. So I feel good about that as a final. I think Bayern can beat City. I think they can. City's been better over the last couple months, but Bayern can win that.
Yeah.
Dortmund could beat City. I mean, that Dortmund's not a pushover here. PSG could possibly beat Bayern. They've got the talent to do it. They just haven't shown the consistency. They just haven't. So I think I'm very comfortable saying a City Chelsea Champions League final, and I would take City to lose it today and Chelsea to win it. By the time we get to the Champions League final, that could be different. But if that final was played today, I would take Chelsea.
If that final was played today, I would take Manchester City, but I think it would take a while.
Okay. There's never been a double in the South Wales Derby, Colonel tells us.
It's always time for a double. It's got to happen sometime.
That sounds like something somebody would say at the end of the night at the bar, John.
Late is going to be. It's the late game on Saturday, so hopefully it'll be the one that's on the plus. Everything else is early. It's like there's one that's like the 7 o'clock, then you get your 10 o'clocks, or sorry, 11 o'clocks now. But the late game at 1:30 is the Derby, I think.
Will, with a good point to finish us off, you go back to 16-17 when Monaco knocked off City and Mbappe was on one. Erling Haaland is capable of being on one and putting a team on his back in 2 games. He is. I mean, Mbappe is capable of that too for PSG. You've got players in these who can do that. I think you've got players at Liverpool who can do that if Mo Salah regains his form. I think Benzema can do that for Real Madrid as well. You've got players on some of the clubs that we're not as high on who could flip it because of that. They absolutely could. But I don't think City will go down to a one-man performance here. I think they're better than they were at that point. I think they might be the best that they have been over an extended period under Pep. And I know he had a couple of record-setting years that point totals are going to be better. But this run with one loss in 25, 26, somewhere in that ballpark now. I mean, it's about as good as it gets. They got to stay healthy. You know, one injury could throw it off, and that's going to be the challenge for all these teams that are left. But, yeah, I think it's City and Chelsea. I keep going back to that. I can't go around it. Brett lets us know that his watch-alongs this weekend, Fulham and Leeds today, Everton and City on Saturday, West Ham, Arsenal, Leicester, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Spurs on Sunday. If you are listening on our podcast edition, It's Brett, and it's ITZZ Brett, BRETT on Twitch, one of our new Twitch friends. Watch-alongs, a lot of fun watching with Brett. I know a lot of the listeners have been chiming in on Brett's channel. So if you're looking for watch-alongs for those games, Brett's your guy. He'll take care of you this weekend. That's going to do it for us. Stay tuned for what our watch-alongs look like this weekend. Won't be the smorgasbord on Saturday morning. You will be watching instead atlutd.com/live to watch a joint training session between Atlanta United and the Charleston Battery. It'll be 4 30-minute segments, and it'll be a lot of mixing and matching, but we'll get to see this team in action against another opponent in some different segments of a match. Mike and I will be talking you through it. It'll be unique. It'll be a little different, but it'll be a precursor to what I think is going to end up being a very, very fun season. That's going to do it. Jarrett, thanks for hanging out for 3+ hours.
What the hell is wrong with me?
I don't know. I don't know. Thanks to all of you who hung out for 3+ hours, even the people who hung out for a little bit at the end. Sean Vergara chimed in at the very end. Thanks to people who were able to jump in at different points. Thanks for just hanging out with us and talking soccer with us. Good conversation about a number of topics today on our Twitter at Soccer Down Here and also on the Twitch pitch. We'll see y'all this weekend at some point. Make sure you got your notifications on. Follow us so you'll know when we're going live. We will be live this weekend. It's just going to be a little bit of a hectic schedule, so stay tuned. We'll see you then. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.